Chapter 793. This golden core realm cultivator might get just one question, at most a corpse? Jiang Hao stood quietly on the deck and waited. With the lowest cultivation realm, he naturally had to wait until the end. However, it was surprising to find out that the two unknown individuals from before were actually from the end of all things. It seemed they had considerable influence. Even the great Thousand God sect was not lacking in resources. On the surface, they took on other people's tasks. It seemed they had plenty of their own tasks as well. Or perhaps this was someone else's task, and they were just here to complete it. The ship began to enter the water and headed in an unknown direction. Jiang Hao watched the ship as it arrived in the boundless sea. The coastline of the corpse sea was no longer visible. The sky had regained a bit of blue in it. It didn't look as lifeless as before. The sea remained unchanged. A gentle breeze carried the smell of the ocean. "Are you ready?" Old Man Corpse Realm smiled. It seemed he hadn't seen so many people here for a long time. He looked happy. Everyone on the deck stood at their respective positions. On the far left were the two from the Divine Corpse sect. They were a pair of a man and a woman. Both were quite young. Next to them were the people from the Great Thousand God sect. The two looked rather ordinary. They wouldn't stand out in a crowd. Further on were two men. One was middle-aged and the other was young. Then, there was the scholarly-looking man from the Astronomical Academy. Jiang Hao stood at the far right. Hong Yuye was beside him. She didn't seem much fond of this place. "We're ready," said the scholarly-looking man, Shu Jin. "The Astronomical Academy is quite straightforward." Old Man Corpse chuckled. He then waved his hand and a vortex appeared in the sea. A man clad in battle armor leaped out from the water. He landed steadily on the deck and looked at everyone with hostility. Jiang Hao was speechless. The body seemed alive, but he's not alive. Old Man Corpse laughed. He simply retained his combat capabilities. If you don't attack him first, he won't make a move against you. After you attack, it's up to you to see how much you can injure him. If he retaliates and kills you, you'll become another body in the corpse sea. There's still time to withdraw. "There is no need for that," said Shu Jin. "The opponent does look strong, but we're ready." The opponent's physical prowess was indeed quite formidable. It wasn't difficult to win, but the challenge was to injure and damage the opponent as much as possible. "Then, let's begin," Old Man Corpse said. Shu Jin stepped forward but didn't attack immediately. He set up various formations and artifacts around the opponent. Finally, he launched his attack. Boom! A powerful force erupted and sent his opponent flying into the sea. Soon, the figure emerged from the water again. One of his arms was missing, and there were numerous injuries on his body. His combat prowess had diminished significantly. It didn't take long to subdue him, but doing more damage wasn't easy. The opponent seemed to grow stronger the more they fought. "Injured by 30%. I'll answer 3 questions for you," Old Man Corpse said. Then, the seawater enveloped Shu Jin. After some time, he was released. Shu Jin frowned. He seemed to be thinking of something. He bowed to Old Man Corpse and stepped back. Jiang Hao felt a bit regretful that this had turned out to be a question and answer session. Otherwise, he would have gained some answers without anything in exchange and showed off at the gathering. "Respected founder, we would like to ask about where Heavenly Steel Mountain goes when it disappears," said the man from the Divine Corpse sect. "Why? Do you want to go and see?" Old Man Corpse didn't mind breaking the rules. "We're looking for a senior brother who didn't come down from Heavenly Steel Mountain." "He vanished," said the woman from the same sect. "What was his cultivation realm?" Old Man Corpse asked. "Middle stage of the primordial spirit realm," said the woman. "Dead." Old Man Corpse gestured toward the corpse sea. "You can try looking there. Maybe he's somewhere in the corpse sea. All the bodies left behind end up in the corpse sea." "Wouldn't they have entered another space along with Heavenly Steel Mountain?" asked the man. Another space? Old Man Corpse C chuckled. With just the primordial spirit realm? If a primordial spirit realm cultivator could do that, why would you be here asking me this? You could have stayed in Heavenly Steel Mountain to find out. The two fell silent. Then, where does Heavenly Steel Mountain go when it disappears? Founder, please. Before the two could finish their words, a light struck them. They exploded on the spot. All right, next, Old Man Corpse C said calmly. Everyone felt a chill run down their spine. At first, they thought Old Man Corpse C was easy to talk to, but strong individuals seemed unpredictable. Jiang Hao glanced at Hong Ye. She too was formidable and powerful. It would be just as effortless for her to kill him. He needed to be more cautious in the future. Trying to reason with strong individuals or expecting goodwill from them was like dancing on the edge of a knife. It was a death wish. The two women from the Great Thousand Gods sect stepped forward. We want to give it a try. The same corpse faced them. It had returned to its original state. The two women had thought of imitating Shujin's strategy, but as soon as they approached, the corpse attacked them. The first one always has an advantage. The latter won't have the same benefit. Old Man Corpse C chuckled. It seemed he was playing with them to amuse himself. The two from the Great Thousand Gods sect used all their strength, but they only managed to inflict 20% damage. After asking 2 questions, they stepped back. Jiang Hao still didn't know what they had asked. Next were the 2 individuals from the end of all things. Even before they began, the corpse attacked. The more times it's attacked, the smarter it becomes, said Old Man Corpse C. At that moment, Jiang Hao felt that his chances were slim. The opponent was deliberately manipulating the situation. The 2 individuals from the end of all things inflicted only 10% damage. They were only allowed 1 question. However, that question alone took a long time. Jiang Hao felt that they were discussing something else. The individuals from the end of all things were also strategic. Perhaps they were discussing whether to offer something to the old man in exchange. Friend, be careful. It might be quite dangerous for you, said Shujin kindly. Thank you, friend, Jiang Hao said gratefully. Is there anything you wish to ask, friend? I do have a few questions. Shujin, have you asked all your questions? Yes. I have a minor question. I want to ask if the corpse realm is related to our external world. If there are any extra questions, I can help you ask. Shujin had intended to accept a question from Jiang Hao if he had one. It seemed Jiang Hao was offering him the same thing. Jiang Hao was only at the Golden Core realm. He might only get 1 question at most. It was impossible for him to have the chance to ask more questions. At that moment, the 2 individuals from the end of all things were done. It was now Jiang Hao's turn. Chapter 794. Senior, may I ask a few questions? At Moon Lake, a huge beast ran as if it was fleeing for its life. But no matter how hard it struggled, it couldn't shake off the person on its back. Wow, we made it! Friends of the beast didn't deceive us. This monster is incredibly fast, Shaoli said in excitement. Yes, you're right, Shaoli, Bai Shuang shuddered. We've arrived at Moon Lake. Can we get down now? Being on the back of such a monster was a torment for them. They were eager to get off, but they couldn't. If they left Jiang Shaoli, they would die while facing other powerful people. If they got off, the monster would probably attack them. If it couldn't kill Jiang Shaoli, would it spare them? The safest approach was to please Jiang Shaoli and persuade her to get off quickly with them. Oh, then let's get down, Shaoli said before jumping down with the others. The monster immediately drew the attention of many people who gathered around. Some looked puzzled at the 4 people, who were at different stages of the Foundation establishment realm. What was going on exactly? How did these 4 people at the Foundation establishment realm end up riding a lightning beast to this place? Moreover, the beast appeared to be fleeing in panic, as if it had seen something terrifying. Were these 4 people that frightening, especially when there was a child among them? When Shaoli jumped down, others followed suit. Luckily, all of them were unharmed. Bai Shuang and the others understood that Jiang Shaoli's coordination was poor. She was strong, but she always ended up in a mess. Jumping down shouldn't have been a problem, but she still fell to the ground. Even so, she was unharmed. There wasn't much to it except for others looking down on Shaoli's clumsiness. The three people were at a loss. They realized Jiang Shaoli might have done it intentionally to appear less of a threat. Then, she would launch a powerful attack. What more could be expected from such a powerful individual as Jiang Shaoli? At that point, the people came closer. They wanted to find out what was happening. There wasn't anything to find out. The four probably had lost their freedom. "Hello, friends, may I talk with you?" asked a person at the peak of the Golden Core realm. Shaoli looked at the person curiously. "Do you know my senior brother?" "Yes." The man nodded and smiled. "Really? Where is he?" "I've been looking for him for so long," Shaoli said in surprise. "Come this way, and I'll tell you everything," said the man. He looked to be about 25 or 26, with a corrupt aura about him. Bai Shuang and the others noticed it, but didn't say anything because Shaoli believed him. There was nothing more to say. They couldn't convince her even if they tried, and they didn't dare to try. Shaoli, on the other hand, believed the man. After all, he had agreed that he was Beast's friend. Lord Beast would never lie. The people around observed them but didn't speak. They didn't know these people, so there was no need for them to speak up for them. This was a person at the peak of the Golden Core realm, at that. His strength was formidable, and so was his companions. Engaging with him wouldn't be good. Hence, there was no need for it. In the forest, the man looked at Shaoli and smiled. "Just now, how did you ride the lightning beast?" "Huh!" Shaoli was confused. "I just caught it and rode it." Su Jie felt insulted. "Catch it and ride it? Do I look like a fool? How can a mere Foundation establishment realm cultivator say such things?" Perhaps he had met a fool. Soon, he wondered why he was dealing with a child when there were three sensible people beside her. "You're still young and don't understand," Su Jie said casually and was about to look for Bai Shuang and the others. "I've told you everything. Shouldn't you tell me now where my senior brother is?" Shaoli stopped him. "I should tell you everything?" Su Jie chuckled. "Yes. You said, just catch it and ride it, right?" "Yes." "All right, then do it for me so I can see. If you manage to do it, I'll believe you." Shaoli felt awkward. There wasn't a lightning beast around here. Then, she turned and saw a giant python. A golden python had appeared quietly. It stared at them as though it had found a meal for today. The moment he saw the golden python, Su Jie froze in place and immediately wanted to flee. "I didn't expect to find a golden python in this forest. Damn it! I shouldn't have come in here in the first place." The strength of the golden python was extraordinary. Even someone in the primordial spirit realm might not be able to handle it. In the vicinity of Moon Lake, no one dared to venture into the area where golden pythons were spotted. As long as someone didn't enter the area, there wouldn't be any danger. So, although the golden python was exceptional, the level of danger was relatively low. Shaoli was excited. With a step forward, a blue light struck through the air, and a punch was thrown. Boom! The golden python was sent flying. Then, Shaoli grabbed the golden python and brought it to Su Jie. Immediately, she stood on the python's head and prompted it to rise. The python rose in fear and accepted its fate as a mount. "You see, this is how you use it as a mount." "I didn't deceive you," Shaoli said seriously. "The beast said that deceiving people is not good. It never deceives people, and I don't deceive people either." Su Jie was shocked. How did a Foundation establishment realm cultivator manage to do something like that? "I told you how to find a mount. I don't deceive people, and you can't either. Now, it's your turn to tell me where my senior brother is." Shaoli waved her fist. "Deceiving people is not good. You'll get beaten if you do that." Su Jie was speechless. He regretted provoking Shaoli. He screamed as he was sent flying with a punch. His face left a deep furrow in the ground. His bones were fractured, and he was injured severely. Blood flowed from his mouth. Although he was still alive, the others were astonished. They had no idea what had happened. Shaoli and her companions walked out of the forest as everyone watched. For a moment, no one dared to speak. At that moment, a red light appeared in the sky and swiftly entered Shaoli's mind at an imperceptible speed. Found them. She pointed excitedly forward. Let's go that way. Bai Shuang and the others didn't dare to refuse. They could only follow her. They realized that the little demon Jiang Shaoli was a force to be reckoned with wherever she went. Jiang Hao stood in front of the corpse. It was his turn. You're alone? Old Man Corpse C asked. Yeah. I'll try alone. Jiang Hao nodded. Then let's begin. Take care. Old Man Corpse C smiled. As soon as he finished speaking, the corpse suddenly erupted, and a powerful force released a tide. But it was just for a moment. The corpse rushed toward Jiang Hao. The terrifying force made everyone feel worried. The corpse was intending to kill the Golden Core Realm Cultivator. It seemed that the last person got the worst of it. Jiang Hao looked at the corpse. He knew the opponent was not easy to deal with, but he didn't expect it to be so difficult. At that moment, when the corpse approached, he unsheathed his half-moon blade. Jiang Hao took a step forward. Clang! There was a sound of metal on metal as Jiang Hao and the corpse clashed. They remained locked in combat. When everyone thought Jiang Hao had died, he slowly sheathed his sword. Clang! At the moment the sword returned to its sheath, cracks spread across the corpse. With a bang, it shattered into pieces and fell to the ground. Finally, Jiang Hao looked up at Old Man Corpse C and said, Senior, may I ask a few questions now? The scene shocked everyone. The others found it unbelievable. Even Old Man Corpse C was surprised. It had happened too fast. That strike was definitely not at the Return to Void Realm. This person's cultivation realm was higher than Return to Void Realm. Moreover, he could freely linger in the corpse realm. I'll allow 10 questions, Old Man Corpse C said. Chapter 795. Heavenly Blade Inquiry 1. The people around were shocked at Jiang Hao's strength. Although they knew Jiang Hao was strong, they hadn't expected him to be this extraordinary. A single slash cut through the corpse and the corpse was shattered. Even if they were given time to prepare, they wouldn't be able to do it. This person didn't need any preparation at all. The gap of strength between them was evident. Among them, Shu Jin was the most shocked. Jiang Hao had told him that if he had any extra questions, he would help ask them. At first, he thought Jiang Hao was offering to be polite. It seemed he was actually being serious. 10 questions. It was simply unbelievable. The members of the End of All Things looked at Jiang Hao. They didn't know what to think. The people of the Great Thousand Gods sect looked wary. They were not on good terms with Smiling Sanxing. The strength the person had shown was a warning that he could kill them easily. Jiang Hao stood still and looked at Old Man Corpse C. He couldn't see through his thoughts, so he could only wait and follow the rules set by him. He was somewhat curious about the strength of the person before him. But it seemed this old man had a high influence. If discovered, it would be very dangerous. He could only wait for an opportunity. Since he had advanced to another realm, appraising Hong Yue might reveal more information. However, he might be discovered, so he didn't dare to do it. Maybe when Hong Yue was asleep, he could try it. At that moment, seawater covered Jiang Hao and Hong Yue. They seemed to have entered a palace formed by the seawater. Old Man Corpse C sat at the highest point of that palace and looked down. You are more capable than I thought. I thought you were just slightly stronger than the others. I got lucky, Senior, Jiang Hao said respectfully. What question do you want to ask? Old Man Corpse C spoke calmly. Can I ask any question? Yes, and that counts as the first question. Jiang Hao was quite surprised. It didn't matter. He still had 9 questions left. I want to know what the members of the End of All Things asked, said Jiang Hao. The question surprised Old Man Corpse C. He looked at the person below and said with a smile, "You want to know their message?" Jiang Hao nodded. Since he had seen them, he had to ask. He didn't mind, but Hong Yuya would. It was better to ask sooner rather than later to show her that he was serious about finding the person behind the stone tablet. The members of the End of All Things said they would find a body for me so I can go out of the Corpse Sea to the outside world. Old Man Corpse Sea chuckled. Their request was simple. They wanted me to help them attract the water of the Corpse Sea. What will happen then? Jiang Hao asked. The water of the Corpse Sea is extremely complex, but the members of the End of All Things want to use the death aura of the Corpse Sea to awaken a corpse. This corpse has self-awareness but is still dead. Once it awakens, it desires to be resurrected, which would require it to devour endless living beings, Old Man Corpse Sea said. Senior, did you agree or refuse them? Jiang Hao asked. Is that the 4th question? Old Man Corpse Sea asked. Yes. Jiang Hao nodded. I agreed, Old Man Corpse Sea said. Jiang Hao wasn't surprised by this. Everyone had choices to make and their own reason for making them. Although this clearly involved the life and death of others on Earth, why would these powerful individuals care about them? Not everyone would be affected by the deaths and struggles of others around them. With the Earth shattered and its creatures suffering, what could be done? After ages, the Earth would rejuvenate and life would thrive again. Who cared if there were creatures that died and new creatures were born? Jiang Hao sighed inwardly. He was also just one of the countless beings without value. He wanted to break free from this cycle. Jiang Hao at least wanted to be able to protect himself. Very few could sympathize with the suffering of others. Even fewer were those who could genuinely take action for the sake of others. That was why the human emperor was born in the first place. He was different from everyone else, was revered by all races, and loved by humans. So, he fought for everyone against formidable enemies. There was only one human emperor. There were many powerful beings who disregarded all living things. Jiang Hao didn't know what his future would be like. Perhaps he would also become one of them. 6 questions remaining. Where is that corpse? West, Sky Sea Forest. 5 questions remaining. Jiang Hao didn't ask any more questions but intended to find out more about the Corpse Sea. What happens if the border of the Corpse Realm is closed, and I cross over? You will stay in the Black Sea. After the Corpse Realm closes, the Black Sea becomes the Corpse Realm and covers everything like a tide. What happens if I enter the Black Sea? I don't know. I've never been inside, but I've observed it. There's a possibility of entering another world. Of course, there's a higher chance of being devoured by the Black Sea. 3 more questions. Jiang Hao fell silent for a moment. He was thinking about whether he should ask more about the Black Sea. But he realized that even if he asked, the old man might not know anything. So, there was no need to ask. After that, he thought about Heavenly Steel Mountain. What will happen if one leaves an image at Heavenly Steel Mountain? There are many theories about it, but the most likely one is that the person might have a chance to struggle for survival in the Black Sea or have the qualifications to enter the Black Sea. 2 more questions. The qualification to enter the Black Sea. That was good news, but it was still only a possibility. Let's say someone saw people at a certain place in the Corpse Realm and heard the conversation of the Heavenly Spirit Tribe. Are they real or just an illusion? Chapter 796, Heavenly Blade Inquiry 2, They're real, and this is the last question. Old Man Corpse Sea looked at Jiang Hao and smiled. You must think carefully. Just 10 simple questions may not provide you with enough understanding of the Corpse Realm. Of course, asking questions I don't know is the same as asking in vain. Jiang Hao wasn't worried. Instead, He asked the questions raised by Shu Jin because the other party had helped warn him of the rain. The reminder was worth a question. What relationship does the corpse realm have with the outside world? That question is not easy to answer. Old Man Corpse C thought for a moment and said, according to my speculation, there should be some connection, but to date, no related information has been found. Even the language of the Heavenly Spirit tribe is somewhat different. Perhaps there's a relation, but it exists in different eras. It's hard to say which is more ancient. If you want an answer, you could try collecting ancient pages. Maybe you'll find some answers there. Jiang Hao felt that it was a pity. Can I ask one more question? I may not answer, Old Man Corpse said. Who is the core of the end of all things? Jiang Hao asked. The person seemed to have entered a certain sea area and disappeared. The others were still waiting for his return. Old Man Corpse C shook his head and remained silent. The seawater dissipated. Jiang Hao and Hong Yuye returned to the deck once again. He immediately informed Shu Jin of the answer. The latter was extremely grateful and even took out a jade pendant. He hoped that if Jiang Hao ever visited the western region, he could drop by the Astronomical Academy. Jiang Hao accepted it, but he probably wouldn't go. It was too far away. He simply couldn't reach there. When he went east before, it was because Shaoli and the others had been there, and he had borrowed the golden rings. There was no one to help him make a trip this time. Actually, there was a way, but whether to use it needed some thought. He had asked all the questions, and it seemed there was no need to linger here. This was not a good place. Jiang Hao wanted to leave as soon as possible. The others also didn't want to stay here any longer. It seems like you want to leave. Indeed, the Corpse C is not a place where you can stay as you wish, said Old Man Corpse C and looked at everyone. Oh, one more piece of advice. Don't enter the depths of the Corpse C. At that moment, the coastline gradually appeared in sight. The sky turned gloomy once again. In that case, I won't keep you, Old Man Corpse C said. Jiang Hao bowed and finally left on his sword. The great Thousand God sect and the end of all things were the ones he needed to be wary of. It was important to understand their motives. However, that didn't mean intercepting each one of them. Not everyone's interests conflicted with his. It was wise to avoid conflicts, especially in this dangerous place. Finally, they left. Before long, Jiang Hao arrived at the edge of a cliff and stepped inside. Everything went smoothly. However, when he left, he felt a strange sensation as if he had entered an isolated area. Jiang Hao stood in a cave and breathed a sigh of relief. However, the Corpse C still existed. It seemed he could enter any time. But Jiang Hao didn't plan to go in again. This place made him feel an inexplicable sense of danger. Is there still tea? Hong Yuye asked. I'll go and buy it for you immediately, Jiang Hao said promptly. Even ordinary tea was finished, so he had to look around. After leaving the mine, Jiang Hao looked for people in 1,000 Feet Mountain. There were many powerful individuals here, so he might find some tea. After a while, he found a woman in blue robes. She frowned at him slightly. The middle stage of the Golden Core realm and late stage of the Foundation Establishment realm. How could these people block her path? Jiang Hao noticed her impatience. Then, a spiritual flame ignited in his eyes. The oppressive aura of the Return to Void realm enveloped the other person. In an instant, the blue-robed woman's spiritual sense surged, subconsciously bowing her head. These two people were not in the Golden Core realm. They were even stronger. Do you mind if I buy some tea from you? Asked Jiang Hao. No, I don't mind. The person nodded. In the end, Jiang Hao spent 15,000 spirit stones. He bought a pack of red azure tea and another pack of ancient spirit tea. With over 390,000 spirit stones remaining, it seemed they couldn't be spent entirely. After that, Hong Yuye arrived at a riverside. Instead of walking forward, she asked Jiang Hao to build a pavilion there. She wanted to drink tea here. Jiang Hao immediately began to cut some wood. He had already finished building a pavilion in less than half a day. Only then did Hong Yue sit inside and let Jiang Hao brew some tea. She sat there for 3 days. Jiang Hao noticed that the tea was finished. Only azure red tea remained now. He looked for others to buy more tea. Luckily, he found some people who were selling them. He spent another 20,000 and bought all the tea from others. It should be enough for a month or two. He had 360,000 spirit stones. Suddenly, it had reduced by over 30,000. It was really terrifying. Who would have thought drinking tea could be this expensive? Under the pavilion, Jiang Hao was curious about what Hong Yue was doing. He asked but didn't get an answer. Jiang Hao sat down to read a book. Before, he couldn't understand the 5th form of the heavenly blade, but now, he could thoroughly study and attempt to use it. Even the mountain sea seal was easy to study. When his cultivation was weak, he couldn't use its power, but it was different now. However, he had to take it one step at a time. He began by studying the 5th form of the heavenly blade. Jiang Hao started reading in an attempt to understand the content before using the sword technique. He activated the clear and pure heart ability. Half a day later, Jiang Hao finally understood the 5th form of the heavenly blade. The form was called inquiry. One's state of mind and spiritual consciousness could be used to cut the opponent's state of mind without drawing blood. This form suited those with exceptional states of mind. For those with an ordinary state of mind, this form wouldn't work. But inquiry could consolidate one's state of mind, heart, and spiritual consciousness. It used the blade to nurture the mind and the mind to forge the blade. This is just the 5th form and it's already so powerful. I wonder what the final 2 forms would be. Just mastering this one seemed like it would take a long time. He also brewed more tea. Jiang Hao drank a cup of tea while reading the book. In the middle of it all, he went out for a while and bought some pastries. He then continued reading while drinking tea until early November. On that day, he felt a change and slowly closed his eyes. He felt like he was about to understand this form, and the heaven lock technique operated within his body. It provided a clearer understanding of his consciousness. The divine might also followed suit. It seemed like everything was aiding his understanding of this form. Without these foundations, it might have taken Jiang Hao a very long time to master the form, but it didn't seem so difficult now. In an instant, Jiang Hao felt the world quieting down. Everything around him stopped. He sat alone in the pavilion and looked at the mountains, rivers, and streams. The strange feeling worried him. He couldn't sense the outside world. It seemed like he was trapped in it. At that moment, a blade appeared in his hand out of nowhere. He stared at the blade for a long time and got lost in his thoughts. He returned to his senses after a long time. Inquiry. He looked at the mountain, rivers, and streams ahead. He understood the significance of this form. Heavenly blade inquiry. It slashes others and slashes oneself. At that moment, he lifted the blade in his hand without hesitation. In that instant, his state of mind and spiritual consciousness were like a blade. The blade light swept through everything. Boom! Jiang Hao opened his eyes under the rain pavilion. He looked at the woman drinking tea opposite him and felt calm again. He had mastered the 5th form of the heavenly blade. At that moment, he was stronger than before and understood the heavenly blade better. He felt impulsive to test it out. Pour the tea, Hong Yue said. Hearing this, Jiang Hao immediately began pouring the tea. At Moon Lake, the fallen immortal clan had arrived. They had been chasing after Jiang Shaoli all along. At first, they thought they would find her in the blood-tide forest. After going there, they discovered the other party had come to Moon Lake. After that, they found out that she had left for the 1,000-feet mountain. How could a Foundation Establishment Realm cultivator be so fast? The young man asked. Let's not worry about it for now. We have to catch her first, the middle-aged man said. With them was a woman in a black robe. She was frowning. After hesitating for a moment, she followed them. With their speed, it wouldn't take long for them to catch up with Jiang Shaoli. Chapter 797. Sister-in-law. Here the sun was warm and pleasant. Jiang Hao sat in the pavilion drinking tea. It had been a long time since he returned to the mine. He wondered if Dole and the others had gone back. The spirit stones were still with him. He hadn't split it with them. It made him feel worried. The boundary of the corpse realm would soon close. He had entered in June, and now it was November. 5 months had passed. 6 months later, the corpse realm would close. Actually, he had another idea. He wanted to find Guan Zhongfei. He could have him take one of the golden rings to the west. If needed, he could go there. But the west was too dangerous. Once that corpse was awakened, going there would be like walking into a lion's den. There was no reason for him to go. Although it was related to the end of all things, there was no news about the stone tablet, so there was no need to worry about it unless there was confirmation that the ancient sage's page had appeared in the western region. Jiang Hao decided to stay in the sect and manage the spirit herbs as usual. Perhaps due to the improvement in his cultivation, he had an urge to go out. Being at the early stage of the Immortal Ascension platform was remarkable. Jiang Hao thought several times about the pavilion master of the Heavenly Joy Pavilion, whose strength far surpassed his own. Once he encountered him outside, it would be a matter of life and death. Another half a month passed in this way. Jiang Hao found Guan Zhongfei. He had heard that a strong individual was staying here, and came over to take a look. It turned out to be Jiang Hao, and there was a woman with him. She seemed to be at the late stage of the Foundation establishment realm. If this cultivator pretending to be in the middle stage of the Golden Core realm could kill him with one slash, wouldn't she be the same? He was very respectful. Greetings, seniors. He took out all the spirit stones from the last sale. It was a total of 60,000 spirit stones. Although it wasn't as many as last time, he did his best. Hong Yuya looked at Jiang Hao. He remained calm. There didn't seem to be any issues with whatever Gong Zhongfei had said. After receiving the spirit stones, Jiang Hao talked to Guan Zhongfei. When they were in an isolated place, Jiang Hao said, adding the previous 15,000, it's a total of 210,000. The corpse realm is about to close, so you don't need to come looking for me again. You can continue selling the remaining ores, but I'll deduct 2,000 from yours. After that, the stones from the sales will all be yours. It's the same for Dole. You can tell him the same. Guan Zhongfei had no objection to it. 21,000 in total, 1,000 is mine. The remaining 200,000. I'll take 80,000 and you and Dole take 20,000 each. That'll be a total of 120,000. You and Dole each have 40,000 from the ores sold. These ores will belong to you, Jiang Hao said. Any questions? No. None at all. Guan Zhongfei bowed to him. They were making a profit. There must still be quite a lot on Dole's side, and they could also sell a fair number of ores for spirit stones. After handing over the 80,000 spirit stones, Jiang Hao said, if you don't find Dole after leaving the corpse realm, then give the spirit stones to him when you're outside. Well, Guan Zhongfei was very happy to receive the spirit stones, but Dole's matter was not that simple. After hesitating for a moment, he said, if, after we go out, what if Dole isn't alive? Then, you should still deliver the spirit stones, Jiang Hao said. Guan Zhongfei felt bitter but didn't dare to refuse. Jiang Hao stood in place. He was silent for some time. Finally, he took out a golden ring. Take this. Put it in your residence and activate it with a technique. As he spoke, a mountain sea seal struck Guan Zhongfei's forehead. He was greatly shocked. He felt a tremendous weight pressing down on him. It was as though that weight could press down on an entire mountain. This terrifying power made him shiver. Jiang Hao comforted him. No need to worry. Once you do it, the item will disappear along with the one on your forehead. All right. Guan Zhongfei could only nod. After teaching him how to activate the golden ring, Jiang Hao let him leave. Now, he had 280,000 spirit stones. That was still a lot. The incarnation of the immortal peach tree only required about 50,000 spirit stones. That would leave him with 230,000. There were many things he could do. As for the golden ring, he would bury one for now. Perhaps he would need to go there soon. If not needed, after activating the ring, he could go and retrieve it or hide it in another place. The only concern was whether this person would activate it. He didn't have many subrings left. There was one with Xiao Li and another with the spirit beast. There was one at home, one in the corpse realm, another with Guan Zhongfei and Hong Ye. That made a total of 6 rings. He only had the main ring and 2 subrings left. It was barely enough. As he returned, Jiang Hao frowned. He sensed someone approaching Hong Yuye, and it was a familiar aura. "Sister-in-law," said someone loudly. Jiang Hao was speechless. He felt his scalp tingle. He wanted to leave as soon as possible. One word from Shaoli could mean their death. If Hong Yuye was offended, it would be the end. Fortunately, Hong Yuye did not erupt with a terrifying aura. Jiang Hao could only wait and watch. He could pretend not to have heard Shaoli. This way, it would be much safer. Shaoli was outspoken, so maybe it wasn't a big deal. Just because she called out didn't mean Hong Yuye would have heard it. As for the other 3 individuals, they were just Foundation Establishment Realm cultivators. After a moment, Jiang Hao walked over to her. He headed upstream along the river. He saw Shaoli standing in front of Hong Yuye and talking happily. She even ate a piece of pastry from the table. The 3 people behind her stood in the pavilion and didn't dare speak. But they were curious. Jiang Shaoli's senior sister seemed to be only at the late stage of the Foundation Establishment realm. Her senior brother might not be much stronger. However, she didn't seem to understand Jiang Shaoli's relationship with this late Foundation Establishment realm cultivator. At first, Shaoli called the woman sister-in-law, and corrected herself and called her senior sister. At that moment they heard footsteps. When they turned to look, they only saw an ordinary-looking man. He was at the Golden Core realm. For a moment, they still felt that Jiang Shaoli was the most formidable among them. Perhaps they didn't know how formidable she truly was. It wasn't that they looked down on Golden Core realm cultivators. It was just that Jiang Shaoli was too terrifying. At that moment, Shaoli also looked over. Senior brother Jiang. She ran over to him. Jiang Hao looked at Shaoli and took out some dried meat. He handed them to her. "Thank you, senior brother Jiang," Shaoli said excitedly. "Why did you come here?" Jiang Hao asked softly. The blood-tide forest was not close to here, and it was not easy to get here. It was the spirit beast. Shaoli carefully placed the dried meat on the table. The beast's influence can also be used here. Its friends on the road helped us find the way. Spirit beast? Jiang Hao was surprised. He also understood that the spirit beast was famous in the corpse realm. It wasn't that everyone knew the beast in this place, but anyone who didn't immo it was beaten up by Shaoli. Looking at the dragon pearl, Jiang Hao found that there was little power left inside. It seemed that Shaoli had not hesitated to use her powers all the way here. Chapter 798. It turns out we met a powerful senior. Shaoli's unexpected arrival didn't have much impact on them. What Jiang Hao was more concerned about wasn't the trouble Shaoli might bring, but whether it would anger Hong Ye. However, the plan was flawed. With the dragon pearl, Shaoli was unrivaled in the corpse realm. She didn't need practice at all. It took some time for Jiang Hao to ask about what Shaoli had done from the 3 Foundation Establishment realm cultivators. There was no food left, so they didn't linger in the blood tide forever. After that, they captured a lightning beast and hurried here. They didn't explain it clearly, but Jiang Hao understood everything. For food, Shaoli would go to great lengths. These things didn't matter. But now he knew that Shaoli would always find her way to him even if he set her free. That would bring trouble. Shaoli sat beside Hong Ye and talked about everything she had seen along the way. Senior sister, I saw something strange under the trees, and it looked at me sneakily, Shaoli said. It felt weird, so I glanced back at it, and then it ran away. I don't know what it was. While Shaoli talked, Jiang Hao listened. Was there something strange under the blood-tide forest? It wasn't entirely impossible. Some places were simply inaccessible, whether during the night or the day. There was always a need to retreat somewhere safe. Even when a place appeared safe, it had lingering danger inside. If one avoided it, they'd be fine. Therefore, the eerie kind of danger always existed but was outside the rules. If anyone didn't follow the blood-tide forest's rules, they might encounter the danger head-on. Are you planning to stay here? Jiang Hao asked Bai Shuang and the other two. Huh. The three were a bit nervous. This place wasn't the blood-tide forest. Once they left Jiang Shaoli, it would be very dangerous. The danger didn't just come from others. It was also from the environment. We need to help Senior Jiang Shaoli find food, Bai Shuang quickly said. Once they run out of their usefulness, they might be abandoned. That was most terrifying for them. Jiang Hao knew their concerns. You're overthinking. I just wanted to ask. Don't you plan to seek opportunities? Seek opportunities? The three looked at each other. They thought that the opportunities here were for strong people and didn't dare to think about it. Yes, opportunities. Jiang Hao nodded. These three people were all on the verge of reaching the Golden Core realm. As long as they obtained opportunities, they could ascend to the Golden Core realm. There might be no one who ventured into the 1,000-feet mountain for opportunities since they were useless to them. Our cultivation is low, and we don't dare to take risks here, said Bai Shuang. Jiang Hao said, Go on. There shouldn't be anyone here in the 1,000-feet mountain to trouble you. That made them feel awkward. How could a Golden Core realm cultivator say such things? But they didn't dare to speak out or refuse. Don't worry. Senior brother doesn't lie, Shaoli said. Hong Yuye turned to look at Jiang Hao and smirked. Bai Shuang and the other two smiled bitterly. They had no choice but to leave. They felt that they were being pushed away. They had come all the way and faced hardships to get Shaoli here, yet they were being abandoned now. The three took a few steps ahead and looked back at Shaoli. They hoped she would tell them to stay. But in the end, Jiang Shaoli didn't say anything. After leaving the pavilion, they walked cautiously away. The sky was clear, but disaster could strike at any moment. They were lucky. They had walked for half a day without any problems. Then, they realized that their luck was not just good, it was extraordinary. Not long after, they saw a glowing tree. There were 9 fruits on the tree. There was no one around. It seems like it's about to ripen, Bai Shuang said. Will beasts be guarding them? Zhong Fahu asked worriedly. Doesn't seem like it, said a woman as she looked around. The three dared not relax and approached cautiously. Soon, they arrived at the tree. The fruits were ripe. They wanted to pluck them quickly and leave. However, at that moment 2 auras approached. A man and a woman's aura collided. The two fought. Fellow Taoist, I found it first, said the woman in gray robes. You must be joking. I was here first, said the man with a stubble. Bai Shuang and the other two trembled. They even found it difficult to move. At that moment, the 2 figures negotiated and went their separate ways. However, when they came down, they found 3 Foundation Establishment Realm cultivators standing there. Bai Shuang hurriedly said, Please forgive us, seniors. We just happened to pass by and had no other intentions. It's best that way, said the man with a stubble. In an instant, an intense pressure spread. However, just as the pressure was about to touch the 3, a purple aura circulated around them. In an instant, the man with stubble saw a pair of eyes. That gaze looked at him as if it could shake the heavens and earth. Instantly, the fire of his spirit burned. The man with stubble was terrified and instinctively took a few steps back. Fortunately, the fire of his spirit vanished. The woman in the gray robe beside him didn't feel anything, but she noticed something unusual. "Where are you three from?" she asked, but quickly realized her question was wrong and corrected herself. "Do you know anyone here? We followed a senior here. She's at a pavilion nearby," Bai Shuang said. "Ah, so you are here on behalf of those two seniors," said the man with a stubble and laughed. "Since you are here, we can all share. There is enough for everyone." He turned to the gray-robed woman. "What do you think?" The woman in gray robes quickly nodded. "Yes, that's right. So, should we split them 3 ways?" The two looked at Bai Shuang and the others. At that moment they felt a bit strange, as if their status had changed. Their opponents' wariness was visible on their faces. What were they wary of? Jiang Shaoli? That was impossible. They were talking about 2 seniors, after all. The two. In an instant they realized their mistake. Jiang Shaoli's senior brother wasn't joking. He really wanted them to have opportunities here. What he said was true. No one would trouble them in the 1,000-feet mountain. They had encountered the most powerful seniors without even realizing it. Opportunities were right in front of them, and they had nearly missed it. After dividing the fruits, the two politely bid them farewell. Then they left. "Do you think we are being looked after by an unknown senior?" Bai Shuang asked. The other two nodded. They followed Jiang Shaoli to survive. Unexpectedly, they had run into opportunities with a senior's protection. Chapter 799. Disappeared in the blink of an eye. At the 1,000-feet mountain, the two from the fallen immortal clan chased someone for a long time before finally locking onto their target. Throughout the pursuit, something felt strange. Jiang Shaoli's speed was unusually fast. They couldn't figure out how she could be this fast. It seemed like even demonic beasts couldn't escape her pursuit. The situation made them frown in confusion. Since they had begun chasing her, odd things kept happening. However, with things having come to this point, there was no turning back. The woman in a black robe was trailing behind. She was lost in thought. "Do you have more information?" the middle-aged man asked. "I heard that Smiling San Xing is here," the woman in a black robe said. "Smiling San Xing?" The middle-aged man frowned. "How did he get in? Can he get in at his cultivation realm?" Smiling San Xing had been quite lively lately, but the fallen immortal clan didn't know much about him. They only knew his cultivation was high. So how did he manage to enter? The woman in the black robe didn't know either. Perhaps Smiling San Xing wasn't as strong as they thought. No one had ever witnessed Smiling San Xing engaging with powerful individuals. The 3 people hurried further inside. If they were not mistaken, Jiang Shaoli was nearby. In the evening, the 3 arrived at a riverbank, where a pavilion could be seen along the river's course. There were 3 people in the pavilion. It was Jiang Shaoli, a man, and a woman. The man was in the middle stage of the Golden Core realm. The woman was in the late stage of the Foundation Establishment realm. The black-robed woman's eye twitched. The 2 members of the fallen immortal clan strode forward. As long as Jiang Shaoli was here, they had to take her away. Jiang Hao was making tea while Shaoli was eating. Almost everything Jiang Hao had ended up in her belly. Her appetite was growing. It seemed she was growing and eating more and more. Fortunately, she had picked some fruits with rich spiritual energy nearby, which should be enough for a while. He had long noticed the 3 people by the riverbank. Some of them wanted to retreat. He didn't mind. They couldn't escape anyway. The black-robed woman reminded him of Feng Hua's avatar. Regardless of whether it was her or not, it would be confirmed shortly. Letting them escape now was pointless. They wouldn't get far anyway. In the past, they might have succeeded. But now it wasn't easy. "Who are you?" Shaoli asked as she approached them. Hong Yuye sipped her tea. She was not very talkative. She spent her time listening to Shaoli's stories. She would speak one word to Shaoli's whole sentence. Jiang Hao would then remind Shaoli to talk less and eat more. "Jiang Shaoli?" asked the middle-aged man from the fallen immortal clan. That's me. Shaoli nodded. Our clan wants to invite you as a guest, said the young man of the fallen immortal clan. Shaoli thought about it somberly. Is it far? If it's too far, I need to ask my senior brother. Jiang Hao poured tea for Hongyu. He couldn't help but find it amusing that Shaoli was actually thinking about the offer seriously. She truly believed that these people wanted to invite her as a guest. Jiang Hao looked up at the newcomers. One was in the Immortal Ascension platform, while the other one was at the peak of the Return to Void realm. They were safe because they had 2 talismans on them. They were very powerful talismans. Even if Jiang Hao managed to take them, he couldn't learn them. The fallen immortal clan was remarkable. They possessed such methods. As for how they managed to find their way here, that wasn't surprising. After all, these people could find out about him from afar. It was remarkable. Unfortunately, these people were unlikely to speak about their clan's plans. Initially, Jiang Hao didn't intend to ask much, but since they wanted to take Shaoli away, he ultimately had to step in. What do you need Shaoli for? Friend, what do you wish to know? The middle-aged man felt that the person before him was not ordinary. Jiang Hao glanced at them. He activated the daily appraisal. He had wanted to save that ability to appraise the black-robed woman, but he wanted to find out what they were after for Shaoli's sake. As for the woman in the black robe, he could ask about her at the gathering. Helion, member of the fallen immortal clan. In the Immortal Ascension realm. He came to the corpse realm to complete a task for the clan and capture Jiang Shaoli. The immortal seed is about to bloom, and watering it with her blood can make it bloom smoothly. Is the immortal seed about to bloom? Does it require Shaoli's blood? Jiang Hao asked. This sudden question shocked Helion. Without hesitation, the power of the Return to Void realm gathered in his hand and struck toward the person in front of him. Boom! A palm strike erupted with immense force. Helion had expected to at least repel the opponent, but he didn't even manage to land his attack. A shadow of a mountain and sea suddenly appeared among them. A heavy aura emanated from the mountain and sea and pressed down on him. Boom! A single strike inflicted severe injuries on him. This terrifying power was not something from the Return to Void realm. Friend, there are no hard feelings between us, Helion said. Although Shaoli calls me senior brother, I also happen to be her elder brother, said Jiang Hao as he stepped forward with his half-moon blade. If you act against her, I can't just sit and do nothing. He used the 5th form of the heavenly blade, Inquiry. Seeing the opponent wield his blade, Helion shouted, and the Immortal Ascension platform's power burst forth. In that case, friend, don't expect an easy time from me either. The Immortal Ascension platform's power emerged. The space distorted and an endless black sea manifested. The half-moon blade struck. Helion felt his heart shatter, and his primordial spirit was on the verge of collapse. Instead of dying right away, he chose to watch the person before him die alongside him. Crack! The heavenly cauldron shattered, and the distorted black sea enveloped Jiang Hao. At that moment, he brought out the Earth Extreme Silent Pearl. Subsequently, the space stabilized. Everything returned to normal. Helion watched in astonishment. Finally, his primordial spirit collapsed, and he died. Even in death, he couldn't understand what happened. Jiang Hao sighed. He struck twice more and casually took the storage treasure. Having done so, he headed toward the pavilion. He noticed that the other members of the fallen immortal clan were nowhere to be seen. When he asked Shaoli, she said, "They probably went home. They disappeared in the blink of an eye." Jiang Hao was speechless. Disappeared in the blink of an eye? Instinctively, he looked at Hongyu, who was still drinking her tea. Chapter 800. The Wrath of the Western Sexu. The 2 members of the fallen immortal clan had died just like that. It didn't cause any commotion. Jiang Hao had thought he would need to take action, but he was surprised to find that they had already been dealt with. He didn't know why Hong Yuya had intervened, but whenever she intervened, it was a sure death for the enemy. He felt a bit concerned about whether it was thoroughly handled. "Senior brother, should I go visit their place?" Shaoli asked curiously. "No need." Jiang Hao sipped his tea calmly. "It's too far. They decided not to take you along and went back on their own." "That's a shame. I wanted to take the beast to see them too," Shaoli said excitedly. "I wonder if the beast's influence would work well there. They should be quite useful here in this remote place." Jiang Hao looked at her but didn't say anything. Perhaps as Shaoli grew older, she would understand why the beast's influence was so significant here. Shaoli was still young and full of energy. Jiang Hao watched her. Hong Yuya was looking at her as well. "Did you act like this when you were young?" Hong Yuya suddenly asked. Jiang Hao said, "Maybe. When he was a child, he was always playing around and getting scolded. From the age of 4 or 5, he started cutting firewood and occasionally went out to play but never knew why he couldn't play with the others. Perhaps at that time, he had lost his innocence." Jiang Hao couldn't help but sigh. He was already 36 years old. Perhaps he would never see the people he grew up with again. "If you were so lively as a child, how come your enthusiasm had decreased so much?" Hong Yuya asked. "It's always good to be cautious," Jiang Hao said. He lived very carefully. When his cultivation realm increased, he inevitably became a bit conceited. So, he was reckless sometimes. Although he tried hard to control it, his state of mind was not good. That was the side effect of rapid advancement. He felt like he wanted to spar with someone of a similar realm and try the 5th form of Heavenly Blade once again. Helion looked like he had reached the Immortal Ascension platform, but in reality, he only dared to use the power of the Return to Void Realm. Once he used the Immortal Ascension platform, he would enter an endless Black Sea. He didn't understand what the Black Sea was. Based on what Old Man Corpse Sea had said, he knew the dangers of entering the corpse realm. There was a glimmer of hope of him surviving since he had left an imprint on Heavenly Steel Mountain. "Don't you find it boring?" Hong Yuya looked at Shaoli. "Are you happy with how you're living?" "No." Jiang Hao shook his head and answered truthfully. "Shaoli and the spirit beast are the happiest I've seen them. I can't compare to them." "Wouldn't it be better to be carefree and happy?" Hong Yuya asked. "It probably wouldn't. After all, I'm not young anymore," Jiang Hao said. Hong Yuya was surprised. "How old are you?" "I'm 36, Jiang Hao said. Under normal circumstances, by the age of 36, people would have married and had children. That's quite old." Hong Yuya chuckled and didn't say anything more. Jiang Hao fell silent. In the following days, Jiang Hao wandered around the 1,000-feet mountain with Shaoli and Hong Yi. There were some strange places with extremely powerful auras along the way, which he didn't dare approach. Whether it was the blood-tide forest or other places, they all had peculiarities. He couldn't be careless. He didn't know what was hidden inside. Perhaps the Old Man Corpse Sea would know something, but he couldn't ask any more. The trip to the corpse realm had revealed quite a bit of information. At least he understood that there was a possibility for him to enter the corpse realm even when it was closed. Secondly, he knew that the Old Man Corpse Sea could leave with the help of the end of all things. The corpse in the western region might also awaken soon. Apart from that, the ancient sage's page might reveal the connection between the corpse realm and the outside world. Shaoli had also caught the attention of the fallen immortal clan, and it seemed the immortal seed was about to bloom. Over a month later, in early January, Jiang Hao noticed a reaction in the heaven, earth, and human yuan formations. They could leave now. They had traveled to many places by then. On the way, Jiang Hao remembered the charm goddess. He had tried to find her but found no trace. During that time, he didn't see Guan Zhongfei and hadn't encountered Dole either. Dole's situation was very dangerous. Whether he could survive after leaving the realm was entirely up to fate. He had already done everything he could. Senior, we should leave now, Jiang Hao said. After more than half a year, he entered the immortal ascension realm and obtained a lot of spirit stones. He was satisfied. Hong Yuya looked up at the heaven, earth, and human yuan formation. Then, she leaped up and dashed toward the formation. Jiang Hao didn't know what she was planning to do. He wanted to instruct Shaoli, but she had already soared into the sky. Jiang Hao quickly followed them. It might have been an illusion, but Shaoli seemed to be freely swimming within the large formation. Her understanding of the formation surpassed an ordinary disciple's. Her talent was extraordinary. She was not inferior in talent to Mi Lingyue. At that moment, countless people chose to leave the corpse realm. Guan Zhongfei was one of them. He hadn't met Dole, so he had over 10,000 spirit stones. There were still some ores left. This time, he earned a lot of spirit stones. He was very satisfied. As he walked out of the teleportation gate, he noticed several people waiting nearby. Master, he said in greeting to the man in front. A man with white hair nodded. This time, the gains were not small, was it? Yes. Guan Zhongfei nodded. The location for the corpse realm flower of the divine rotation sect was not far from the corpse realm. There were a total of 12 peaks, and Guan Zhongfei emerged at the central peak. Senior members of the sect were waiting there. As a true disciple, he immediately caught their attention. Junior Brother Guan, it seems, has made significant progress in your cultivation realm, said a man with a smile. Guan Zhongfei nodded with a smile. He had indeed encountered many opportunities. He noticed some teaching elders present. If he wasn't mistaken, there would be a storm brewing here shortly. 2 true disciples of the divine rotation sect died at the hands of smiling Sanxing, and all of this was tied to Dole from the Mountain River Valley sect. The Mountain River Valley sect wasn't far from their location, and perhaps it wouldn't be long before they demanded an answer. The Divine Rotation sect was a major sect in the western region, while the Mountain River Valley sect was just a small sect in the west. An ordinary inner sect disciple like Dole would find it hard to escape punishment. After a short wait, Guan Zhongfei saw the people from his sect coming out one after another. However, the 2 teaching elders didn't find the people they were waiting for. Shortly after, they looked shocked and then angry. Dole? Dole from the Mountain River Valley sect? Are you sure? Angry voices reverberated all around. Many people were left puzzled. Guan Zhongfei sighed. He knew that Dole's problems had begun. It wasn't just the Divine Rotation sect. Other sects in the western region might be asking the same questions. Soon, Dole from the Mountain River Valley sect became a name remembered by numerous powerful individuals. Moreover, many immediately set out at night to demand justice. They would interrogate him to uncover the mastermind behind the scenes. Regardless of whether the culprit was revealed, his death was inevitable. Chapter 801. Dole has no choice. At the Cliff of Broken Hearts, Jiang Hao walked out from the corpse realm flower. 4 people had entered from the sect, but only 3 emerged. They were Jiang Hao, Shaoli, and Zhugazheng. Inshuani from the Heavenly Gate sect hadn't come out. Jiang Hao knew why. How would smiling Sanxing's killing spree connect to him anyway? After that, he visited his master along with Shaoli. His own situation wasn't much of his master's concern, but Shaoli's circumstances would certainly be a point of interest. Jiang Hao stood by quietly with his head bowed. In the courtyard, Ku Wuchang glared at Shaoli. You didn't cultivate inside? He asked. I was hungry, Shaoli muttered and bowed her head. Ku Wuchang stared at her. Were you sleeping all the time inside as well? I was too hungry to sleep, Shaoli said. Ku Wuchang fell silent for a long time. Shaoli, with her head still down, seemed to realize she was in trouble. Jiang Hao glanced at her and stood quietly. The cliff master wouldn't ask him much, which was a good thing. After all, it was not easy to explain. After a long time, Ku Wuchang waved his hand. He gestured for Shaoli to leave because he didn't want to see her anymore. Jiang Hao also wanted to leave, but the cliff master stopped him. "Do you have any orders for me, master?" Was Shaoli in danger inside? Ku Wuchang asked. Junior sister Shaoli has exceptional talent and innate divine power, so, Jiang Hao didn't continue. He wanted to say she swept away everything that stood in her way. No one was her match. She naturally didn't need to cultivate. Ku Wuchang was only concerned because he knew Shaoli had exceptional talent. Otherwise, he wouldn't be worried. He sighed wearily. Jiang Hao also left. After spending so much time in the corpse realm, he needed to check his house. He wanted to see if Gue would arrive soon. He also needed to be careful of Feng Hua. He finally found the black-robed woman he encountered inside. She tried desperately to find a way out but couldn't do it. Jiang Hao had appraised her. Indeed, she was Feng Hua's avatar. She had been trying to shock him and Shaoli by appearing inside. However, she ultimately failed. She wasn't afraid of death at first, but she was terrified now when she realized she couldn't get out of the realm. She wanted to spread the information she had found. Unfortunately, everything was in vain. Jiang Hao talked with her curiously for a while, but gained nothing in the end. It seemed the avatar's knowledge was limited. Thus she died just like that. Her storage treasure was also empty. Everyone from the fallen immortal clan had nothing. They were quite poor. Jiang Hao didn't rush to leave. He observed the peach tree. The fruits were ripe by now. He wondered who had eaten the fruits. He would have to wait until October of this year for the incarnation. He had sufficient spirit stones, so there was nothing to worry about. After that, he sat on the floor of his room and calmed his state of mind. He also waited for Guan Zhongfei's message. It shouldn't take long for him to make a choice. The next day, Jiang Hao finally sensed the ring. It seemed Guan Zhongfei had made his decision. With that, he relaxed a bit and waited. Starting today, he would consolidate his mental state and attend to the spirit herb garden peacefully. Apart from these tasks, he also needed to check how long it would take for the heavenly fragrance Dao flower to give some more bubbles. If there was nothing unexpected, it should take 11 days. By that account, it would take 3 years for him to accumulate 200 bubbles. It's going to take quite some time, but it'll pass quickly. Planting more spirit herbs will take less time. He sighed and got up to head to the spirit herb garden. His daily, peaceful routine began yet again. Dole hesitated when he found out that he could leave. Someone had informed him that the powerful individual who had rescued him had killed many people. No one could find that person, so everyone would blame him for everything. Many of the individuals who were killed were talented disciples from Western sections. It was evident that they would find someone to blame. Dole knew that the person who had warned him of this had good intentions. He had even told him not to leave the corpse realm. Leaving would mean death. However, staying here would also mean death. Although he appeared to have a choice on the surface, he actually didn't have one. If it weren't for that senior, perhaps he would have died long ago. He was alive just by chance, so he still wanted to return and live his life. Even if he faced death, he could do it with certainty. What saddened him was that he had plenty of spirit stones from selling the ores, but he hadn't been able to split them with his 2 team members. He wanted to leave everything to them before his death. However, he found the mine deserted. The spirit herbs were still there. It seems someone had left the place for a while but hadn't returned. Or perhaps they had met some danger. Dole didn't know what happened to smiling Sanxing. He waited there for a long time, but no one came. That was disappointing. Guan Zhongfei might also face a grim future because of the incident related to him. Until the end, he waited at the entrance of the mine. He waited for one more day before packing up the spiritual herbs and leaving. If possible, he wanted to leave some of it for them. He feared he wouldn't get the chance in the future. He needed to figure out what to do with so many spirit stones. When he emerged, his fellow sect members looked over at him and stepped back. They kept their distance. Some looked puzzled. Dole kept his head down. He didn't dare look them in the eye. He exchanged greetings with some seniors and left quickly. He knew that soon everyone would know about the incident in the corpse realm. He might be left out or even observed carefully. His sect couldn't afford to offend powerful people. Sure enough, the next day, a senior brother found him. He told Dole not to leave the sect for a while. He also told Dole that it was inevitable that other sects would be here to meet him. Many sects had already sent requests for a visit. Dole understood that, despite his disappointment and fear, he could only face his fate calmly. He had no choice. Despite achieving the Golden Core realm, he didn't have a high status within the sect. Nobody paid much attention to him. He had helped a senior and earned a slot in exchange. That was why he was in the corpse realm. But that was it. He could only wait for the other sects to visit and declare his fate. It would be better if they could do it early. At least, he wouldn't suffer too much. But who would choose to die when they had a reason to live? Dole had intended to go out of his house and help the juniors, but he dared not step out. He thought that if he associated with them, then they would get hurt too. One day, a senior sister found him. She was among the top 10 disciples in the sect. Her visit surprised Dole, but it also made him curious. A woman in a purple dress stood before Dole's house. "You're the same Dole that everyone has been talking about?" "Yes." "Greetings, Senior Sister Lin," said Dole respectfully. "Many powerful individuals have arrived in the sect. Aren't you planning to escape?" Senior Sister Lin asked. "One should take responsibility for their actions. If I leave, it will only cause trouble for the sect." "Ha ha! You can't escape even if you want to, can you? If you could, I don't think you'd be here acting all noble." Senior Sister Lin chuckled. Dole remained silent. It was true. He couldn't escape. He had to accept it. He was trying to act honorable to console himself. He didn't know if this was a tragedy. Chapter 802. It was Dole today. Tomorrow, then Dole listened quietly with a bitter smile. "Senior Sister Lin, please spare me." He still hoped to survive. But everyone knew that no one would give him that chance. Since that was the case, why bother begging for something impossible? At least for now, it seemed a bit like not causing trouble for his sect. It was a bit of a contribution. "I've understood the whole situation. It isn't your fault, and the sect shouldn't restrict your freedom. But the sect is small and there's no way around it. So, I wanted to ask you, is there anything you want to do but can't?" Senior Sister Lin kindly asked. Dole breathed a sigh of relief. He had something he needed to do. "Yes." "What is it?" Senior Sister Lin asked curiously. "I met 2 people in the corpse realm. We were mining together to earn some spirit stones, but they disappeared in the last few months. I couldn't deliver their share of spirit stones to them." "How many spirit stones?" 70,000. "If you are willing to help me, I can give you 20,000 spirit stones. Please find a way to deliver the rest to them. There are also some ores left." 70,000? Senior Sister Lin was surprised. 70,000 was not a small amount. A Golden Core realm cultivator with so many spirit stones was still willingly offering them to someone else. Was he truly this selfless? "Sure." Senior Sister Lin nodded with a smile. Dole hesitated but eventually agreed. He might lose the chance, so even if she took the spirit stones for herself, he had no choice but to agree. Once he was taken away, his possessions would be confiscated anyway. In the end, Dole gave her 70,000 spirit stones and some ores. After receiving them, she left. Dole was left standing alone. He didn't know if he had been played. He could only quietly wait for people from other sects to arrive. 7 days later, people from a major sect came to visit. Many people knew the reason. The visit had to do with Dole. Dole was so powerful in the realm, but now it's all so tragic. "Yeah. Although I didn't enter, I know that for someone at the Golden Core realm to act so arrogantly in front of a primordial spirit realm wouldn't be taken lightly. It's beyond his capabilities. His downfall is unavoidable. In truth, Dole is innocent. He has no choice. Don't say such things. What can our sect do anyway? Shoo! How can you say that? The people of the Mountain River Valley sect were ready to do what needed to be done. When they were about to hand over Dole, another sect arrived. At that moment they started discussing. Dole thought he would face his death today. But he didn't expect them to discuss his fate for 7 consecutive days. People from nearby sects also arrived. Dole's fate became even more difficult to decide with more people present. They planned to conduct an interrogation outside the Mountain River Valley sect. When Dole was taken away by 2 senior brothers, he felt despair. He had prepared himself to be taken away, but he wasn't prepared for an interrogation. Many people in the sect knew him. Some juniors looked up to him. He had always been reliable. He now felt ashamed. This was a fatal blow to him. At that moment, he even thought of harming himself just to avoid this. At least, he wouldn't have to endure such humiliation. However, it was too late. His power was suppressed, and all he could do was stand there. Outside the valley, on a high platform, Dole stood in the middle. He was surrounded by 7 powerful people. Among them was a middle-aged man with some white hair who glared at Dole. "Did you cause the death of my disciple?" the man asked. Dole lowered his head and didn't dare speak. "Who murdered them?" the middle-aged man asked again. Still, Dole remained silent. The man raised a whip charged with thunder and lashed out. It tore Dole's flesh. Dole was in excruciating pain. "Speak. Perhaps we can spare your life," said an icy voice of a woman. Seeing that Dole remained unyielding, she attacked and left several bloody holes in Dole's thighs. At that moment, attacks and spells hurt Dole from all sides. His agonizing screams rang out. He couldn't take it anymore. He muttered something about smiling Sansheng, but it was only related to mining and nothing else. It wasn't what they wanted to hear. The techniques surged again. It was going to shatter Dole's soul. People from the Mountain River Valley sect felt regretful. Senior Sister Lin looked at the platform and shook her head sadly. Their sect was truly incompetent. They allowed these people to treat Dole in such a way at their own doorstep. What could a disciple like her do? Far away, Guan Zhongfei observed everything in hiding. He didn't dare approach Dole. He could only watch silently. As he had expected, Dole couldn't escape danger. Even if he wanted to give him his share of spirit stones, it was too late. The screams resonated everywhere. The people of the Mountain River Valley sect were silent. At first, they were watching the spectacle, but soon, they felt as if they were watching themselves being flogged. They realized that the sect wouldn't stand up for any of them. It was Dole today. Tomorrow it could be them. His wretched screams struck their hearts. It made them feel sad and frustrated. However, no matter how much he screamed, the people of the Mountain River Valley sect didn't act. It disturbed Yen Yuezhi, who awoke from her meditation. She immediately stood up. "Oh no! It's time." She had been waiting. Then, she had become so engrossed in her meditation that she was late. The screams rang in her ears once again. She turned to see a man chained on a platform. He was injured and bleeding. His soul was almost at its brink. "Dole, I'll ask you once again. What information do you have about that person?" shouted an angry voice. "Dole?" Yen Yuezhi was shocked. At that moment, the whip of thunder was about to fall again. "Dole, you asked for this. Your death is your own doing." In an instant, the onlookers knew Dole was doomed. With that strike, he wouldn't live for much longer. Guan Zhongfei sighed. The people of the Mountain River Valley sect also couldn't bear it. Dole's vision was blurry. He knew he couldn't hold on for much longer. However, just when everyone thought the whip of thunder was about to strike, slender hands grabbed it and stopped it. The sudden turn of events surprised everyone. It made the middle-aged man even angrier. How dare you meddle in affairs you know nothing about? Yen Yuezi's anger flared as she looked at Dole, who was fatally injured. She had almost failed in her task. These people had almost ruined her chance of getting that book. A coldness emerged. She turned to look at the middle-aged man. Then, she vanished. Under everyone's gaze, she reappeared in front of the middle-aged man. Ink appeared out of thin air and covered the middle-aged man. With a bang, he was reduced to ashes. Those who had wanted to act watched in astonishment. This technique was of the Astronomical Academy. But why would someone from the Astronomical Academy appear here? Immortal, this is our personal matter. No matter how influential the Academy is, they cannot interfere in this, said the woman from before. At that moment, an elder said, The Astronomical Academy is outstanding, but they can't harass others like this. Guan Zhongfei was astonished. Why would someone from the Astronomical Academy come here? It was impossible. Chapter 803. I came for the benefits you. Yen Yuji felt so irritated and angry that she had the urge to end these people. She was getting angrier by the second. When she heard the woman speak, she almost lashed out. She was almost about to use her ultimate move to exterminate them. At the peak of her fury, she restrained herself. She didn't feel any better as she looked at the people gathered there. Instead, she felt even worse. She glanced at the heavily wounded Dole and the astonished crowd behind him. She looked furious. Anyone could push her off the edge with a simple word. It was quite unusual. After a while, she sensed something as if witnessing a transformation from the depths of her soul. She saw a scene of bloodshed. It was the arrogance of youth and a question posed to the heavens. The book in her hand began to emit a faint light. The contents flashed through her mind like a whispered song. It was as though the words were paving her path toward her cultivation. Yen Yueji felt surprised and sighed a little. The opportunity she had sought for a long time had been impossible to find. Yet, in the midst of her fury, she saw it. It was a revelation that set her on her path. What she thought she needed from the ancient and modern book was no longer necessary. She sighed heavily under the questioning gaze of the crowd, but she didn't speak. At that moment, several powerful auras surged from the side. They were grandmasters. They were stronger than her. We need an answer from you, Immortal. We know the Astronomical Academy is extraordinary, but we are also not to be trifled with, said the middle-aged man. His imposing aura spread wide. The tremendous pressure shook Yen Yuezi's mind. For a mere golden core realm cultivator, they had amassed such powers. What kind of hostility required such drastic actions? However, it did nothing for how angry she felt. Her rage was like a deluge that had burst the dam in her heart. Her aura soared, and an immortal intent was revealed deep within her. However, with that intent, her anger surged. It was like a roaring fire. Inner demons, Yen Yueji murmured softly. There wasn't much resistance to her power. After all, whatever she did came from her heart. Her inner and outer demons were the same. Do you really want an answer? Fine. Tell me what explanation you want to hear. Do you want me to explain why I killed someone just now, or are you looking for something else? She asked softly. Her aura changed again. Transformed from white to black. Everything merged into one. Dark and light. Saving someone or killing them. Her demons merged. There was no good or evil. Dole killed disciples of our sect. We want to question him in peace. Why did you stop us for no reason? Why did you attack our people? Does the Astronomical Academy want to be enemies with all our sects? Did you really think we wouldn't dare to lay hands on you to defend ourselves? Many voiced out their questions in contempt. These words rang in Yen Yuezi's mind and ignited her fury further. The inner demon began to spread around her as if it wanted to drag her into itself. Her fury led to evil thoughts in her mind. She wanted to annihilate everything. Yen Yueji didn't act. She looked at the people in front of her. After a while, she took out an ancient scroll. There were 2 words on it, astronomical scroll. Please give us a straightforward response, an elder asked. Okay. Yen Yueji nodded and looked at the puzzled elder. The Astronomical Academy agrees to be an enemy with your sections. We will annihilate you. So, please inform your respective sects about this. In a month, the Astronomical Academy will come for you and destroy you. At that moment, Yen Yueji threw the scroll into the air, and an ancient aura swept through the surroundings. Yen Yueji, who was already enveloped by her inner demon, looked at everyone around her and declared, Dole is under the protection of the Astronomical Academy. If you touch him, the Astronomical Academy will be your enemy. Now, state your names and your sections. The Astronomical Academy gives you a month's time to prepare for the inevitable. The elder who spoke earlier was incredulous. He looked fearful. The astronomical scroll, everyone knew what it was. It represented the entire Astronomical Academy. How was it possible that such a powerful sect was taking action to protect someone like Dole at all costs? Who actually was Dole? Guan Zhongfei looked from afar. His heart raced. He had no idea what was happening. Someone from the Astronomical Academy not only had appeared out of thin air, but she also had brought along the one thing that represented her entire sect. She had asked for everyone's names and sects while threatening to annihilate them all. It felt surreal. Dole looked at the people before him in astonishment. He didn't understand what was happening. Senior, we were just passing by and gathered here when we saw a crowd. We were here by mistake. Please forgive us. Well, step back, said someone. Some of the people from the crown retreated. They didn't dare to say anything further. The astronomical scroll had appeared. Even if their sect's disciples had died in the corpse realm, a war with one of the major sects was dangerous. Who would dare to fight a major sect just for the sake of a few disciples? The elder also smiled weakly and admitted that it had been a mistake, and that they had got the wrong person. He apologized profusely. Yen Yueji didn't pay attention to these people. She knew their current retreat was only temporary. But as long as she held her ground, many would retreat. Nearly overwhelmed by evil thoughts, she composed herself and sensed that there was an old woman who absolutely wanted to kill Dole. If given a chance, she would act. She would have acted already if the situation allowed it. Time was running out. Yen Yueji looked at Dole. I'll give you 2 choices. Please go on, senior, Dole said. Yen Yueji looked at Dole calmly, but her eyes were blood-red. After I give in to my enlightenment, my inner demon will be unleashed. Once that happens, I won't be able to spare you. The first choice is to immerse you within my inner demon. If I succeed in overcoming the demon, you'll gain immense benefit. You'll share my success in the cultivation path. However, if I fail, I'll perish, and so will you. The second choice is that I can exclude you from this and leave you be. However, there are so many people here who will risk offending the Astronomical Academy just to kill you. I will seek help from the Academy and provide you with a treasure for protection. But that'll be uncertain. The Academy might not arrive in time to help you. Both these choices have their own gains and losses. It's up to you. Will you choose to face life and death with me, or will you choose to face it alone? If I choose to face it alone, will they refrain from attacking you, senior? Dole asked. Yen Yueji was stunned. Her rage seemed to dissipate a bit. She looked wise and ancient. She shook her head. Don't worry about me. I came here for the benefits anyway. Chapter 804. Hoping to meet the senior you. At the Astronomical Academy, Jing Dajiang sat under a tree and enjoyed the cool breeze while sipping his coffee. Next to him were 2 elderly men. That young girl is quite dangerous, said the one with a white beard. I asked around about her. It seems she has been in the academy since very young, but she is a bit distant from others, said Jing Dajiang and chuckled while eating some peanuts. But it's all right for now. She won't be a problem. She still lacks opportunities which aren't easy to find. It might take 10 or even 100 years to take another step forward. When she gets there, I'll lend her a hand. You gave her the astronomical scroll. What if it creates conflict with other sects? Asked the beardless old man. Conflict with other sects? Jing Dajiang laughed. Do we look like pushovers? Do they look that tough? If they dare to engage in a fight with us, why would we back down? As long as that young girl remains tough, even major sects like the Clear Sky School or the Bright Moon sect would have to think seriously about starting a war, let alone small Western sections. The seniors from the major sects will have to step in to defuse the situation. Don't worry. Nobody dares to fight us, except maybe the Mountain Sea Sword sect. The two elders nodded. That did make sense. After a while, a disciple entered their space. The disciple was dressed in blue and white academy robes. He looked scholarly and held a fan in his hand. Good morning, elders, he said in greeting. What's the matter? Jing Dajiang asked. Senior sister Yen has fallen into the inner demon, said the young disciple. Jing Dajiang and the other two were surprised. So soon? Where did she find the opportunity? Asked the bearded elder. It seems she lost herself in anger, and then her immortal intent manifested. Her immortal intent appeared? Jing Dajiang frowned slightly. What does she plan to do? She intends to ascend to the immortal ascension platform within her inner demon. Nonsense. In fact, there's a possibility of success. Do you think you know this better than me? The newcomer bowed. Senior sister Yen did something extraordinary. She took a golden core realm cultivator into her inner demon. This person might aid her in her success. Although senior sister Yen only wanted to protect him, she unknowingly laid a possibility for her path to immortality. This'll also benefit the golden core realm cultivator. She took someone into her inner demon? That is quite bold. Jing Dajiang chuckled. His name is Dole. He is of average talent and is good at formations. He sometimes thinks he is inferior to others but has a defining quality that most people lack: pure kindness. Senior sister Yen took the astronomical scroll to protect him. This is an opportunity for both her and the golden core realm cultivator, said the newcomer. Is the situation dangerous? Yes. Our people haven't acted yet. This is an opportunity for everyone. Intervening might mean that they can help the two survive, but it might also increase the chance of failure for what senior sister Yen intends to do. Jing Dajiang fell silent for a moment. Then, he asked about the ancient pages. It seems it's in the West. According to some seniors, the one with the Heavenly Tao Foundation establishment might have attracted the pages to her. The Bright Moon sect has the one with the Heavenly Tao Foundation establishment. The Clear Sky School has a sage. What does our sect have? The newcomer lowered his head and fell silent. Jing Dajiang didn't ask further. He had retired, and these matters were of no concern to him. The only thing he cared about was meeting that senior again. Unfortunately, apart from the book title, there was no further news about him. After the newcomer left, the three enjoyed the peanuts for a while. Feeling increasingly bored as they ate, Jing Dajiang finally stood up. It has been a long time since I went out, hasn't it? Why? Do you want to go out? The bearded elder asked. I'm going to go out for a stroll. Jing Dajiang got up. It was too boring to stay here day after day. In the southern region, Baizhu led Xiao Yi to the Heavenly Note sect. Princess, you come here quite often, said Xiao Yi. No, I don't, said Baizhu hurriedly. Please, Aunt Xiao, don't say such unlucky things. This'll be our last visit. Xiao Yi was puzzled. Why are you so afraid of this place yet insist on coming here every time? Because this is the south. I plan to go west. I want to meet the one with the Heavenly Tao Foundation establishment. Maybe I'll find her there. Baizhu smiled warily. Are you happy, Princess? Of course. Leaving the southern region will make me even happier. If we can get used to the West, we won't even come back here. What if your brothers want to see you? Let them come to the West to visit me then. Besides, my life is almost over. In 100 years or so, I'll die. They don't need to worry about me anymore. Death meant the end of worries. Xiao Yi didn't know what to say for a moment. Probably wouldn't really end. The princess was not an ordinary person. Although she hadn't seen the princess in action, she seemed quite extraordinary. As for her claim of being the first genius of the royal family, that remained to be seen. Baizhu spoke to the guards as they neared the entrance of the Heavenly Note sect. I am Baizhu of the Black Heaven sect. I'm here to meet Liang Hao of the Cliff of Broken Hearts. Here is my letter for your reference. The letter was provided by the Black Heaven sect, which allowed her to visit the Heavenly Note sect as a guest. Baizhu also handed over a few spirit stones to them for everything to go smoothly. She didn't have much else, but she had plenty of spirit stones. If she offered them a few, it would definitely make her visit much easier. Of course. Please follow me, said the guard after accepting the spirit stones. She was taken to the guest reception area. The guard then asked someone to fetch Jiang Hao. With spirit stones to pave the way, everyone was happy. At the Cliff of Broken Hearts, Jiang Hao had waited for Gui to arrive for nearly a month. After handing over the items to her, he could go about his own affairs. As for Dole's situation, it all depended on luck. He had offended too many people this time. Even if Zhang was outstanding, she was just one person. She might not be able to protect Dole alone. Even if Xing had gotten involved, it would have been the same. No matter what he had to offer, he couldn't amass the power of the entire Astronomical Academy or the Bright Moon sect. That would require immense leverage, which Jiang Hao didn't have. Even a top-ranking disciple couldn't manage something like that. It was almost impossible for Dole to live a peaceful life. It would be difficult to survive for him. With a sigh, Jiang Hao stopped overthinking. After that, he arrived at the guest reception area. This was the second time he had directly traded with the other party. He didn't know if it would have any impact on him. Fortunately, it won't be as frequent. It's been too long since I saw you last, friend Jiang, said Baizhu with a smile. Jiang Hao politely said, indeed. Jiang Hao handed over the box containing the ancient and modern book. Friend Jiang, aren't you going to the West? Baizhu suddenly asked. Jiang Hao shook his head. That's a pity, Baizhu said with a regretful smile. Chapter 805. Appraising the heavenly fragrance, Dao Flower Jiang Hao simply responded with a friendly smile. He wouldn't go to the western region unless he needed to. It was not only dangerous there but also had no benefits. With the corpse that was going to awaken there, it was dangerous. The corpse realm had closed, and Old Man Corpse C might have already gotten out. There was a high probability of conflict in the West. The ancient and modern book would attract a lot of attention. The probability of the end of all things being there was quite high. In the gathering next time, perhaps he could remind Zhang of the new developments. Apart from that, there was also the fallen immortal clan. The immortal seed was about to bloom. Something would definitely happen there. He just didn't know who would target the fallen immortal clan next. Perhaps it would be the Xianyuan clan, but the present Xianyuan clan wasn't strong enough. Even with the Grand Earth Emperor, it was not enough. The Grand Earth Emperor, like the one with the Heavenly Tao Foundation establishment, required time to grow more powerful. These things couldn't be achieved overnight. Friend Jiang, is there anything you want to ask me? Baizhu kindly asked. Jiang Hao shook his head. He didn't need to know anything right now. Just focusing on his cultivation was enough. As long as it wasn't something that could destroy the surrounding environment, it wouldn't affect him much. After glancing around, Baizhu discreetly took out a dozen or so spirit stones and handed them over to him. Jiang Hao felt strange receiving the spirit stones. Was this the first time someone had used spirit stones to get on his good side? Before, He used to be the one who would offer spirit stones to others to gain their favor. Unknowingly, he had become someone who others wanted to keep on their good side. A dozen or so spirit stones were not too bad, so he accepted them. Friend, the path to becoming an immortal is not easy, but being happy is the most important. Never give up on yourself. If you are angry with someone, you can learn to curse. It helps vent your anger without much risk, said Baiju. She understood that the fate of the southern region lay in the hands of this person. Jiang Hao looked confused. He didn't understand what she meant. Baiju smiled. She thought he was unaware that the fate of the southern region lay in his hands. That might make him feel a bit safer. Then, I won't stay any longer. Goodbye, Baiju politely said. She quickly left. She hoped this would be her last trip to this sect. This person seemed harmless, but it was always better never to meet again. Jiang Hao bid farewell and saw Baiju off. There was a chance that she was heading to the Lawless Tower. I wonder how many spirit stones she would have to spend there. Returning to the spirit herb garden, Jiang Hao resumed his routine. The matters of the corpse realm were done, and the people who had come for it were gradually leaving. The Heavenly Gate sect had brought many people, but only half were present as they prepared to leave. At first, they had planned to leave 3 days later. However, 5 more people had died. The Heavenly Gate sect was furious. They demanded an explanation and compensation from the Heavenly Note sect. The next day, they left calmly. Lu Xingchen came to tell him that whatever had happened had caught his interest. Jiang Hao was curious. How is the matter being handled? They made exorbitant demands, so the Law Enforcement Hall investigated the issue. They found that our sect was innocent in this. The one who had done it turned out to be the Heavenly Gate sect's own people. Then, they apologized and left. Lu Xingchen chuckled. Jiang Hao couldn't believe it. He didn't expect the Heavenly Gate sect to be so cunning. But the Heavenly Note sect wasn't any better. Despite everyone keeping a low profile within the Heavenly Note sect, anyone would turn an enemy outside. The Heavenly Gate sect's matter wasn't disclosed to the public. On the surface, it still appeared as though the Heavenly Note sect had killed someone. Although they provided an explanation that it was the work of someone from the Great Thousand God sect, everyone was still suspicious. When the members of the Divine Corpse sect prepared to leave, they met Zhuang Yuzhen one last time. They offered to free him so he could return with them, but he refused. He said he had become a waste and didn't want to cause trouble for the sect. He left everything to the sect master and his disciples now. Zhuang Yuzhen stayed permanently in the Lawless Tower. It wasn't that he didn't want to leave, but he had no way out. The Divine Corpse sect was no longer his home. What use was an early-stage primordial spirit realm cultivator like him to them? He was less useful than many junior disciples. So, he couldn't return. After learning about it, Jiang Hao gave him a pot of good wine and meat. At that time, Wu Yang also revealed everything he knew. Finally, Baiju paid him a ransom and sent him away from the Lawless Tower. His location was unknown. Everyone had their own matters to deal with. They also had their own choices. Some gained opportunities because of it, while others lay far from home. The world was like that. Most times, one didn't know if their decisions were right or wrong until the result happened. The only thing to do was to stick to your choices and believe in yourself. Early in February, the Heavenly Gate sect and the Divine Corpse sect departed. This time, Jiang Hao didn't meet many of their people. The Heavenly Note sect also didn't have any conflicts with them. Another half a month passed. Zhuge Zheng came to bid him farewell. Friend Zhuge, travel safely, Jiang Hao said. Thank you. My senior brother told me to learn from you, Zhuge Zheng said with a smile. Learn what from me? Jiang Hao was puzzled. He has already become an immortal. When he saw you, he felt your serenity and tranquility. It was like a calm, ancient well that transcended worldly matters, Zhuge Zheng said truthfully. He said someone like you only lacks an opportunity to soar to great height. While my talent is good, my heart is not pure enough. Otherwise, my cultivation wouldn't have been so slow. Jiang Hao was surprised but didn't pay much attention to it. There was nothing to hide. The state of one's mind was perceived differently by different people. After that, Zhuge Jing left. On the same day, people from the Mountain Sea Sword sect departed too. They were the friendliest with the Heavenly Note sect, just like the Bright Moon sect used to be. He still remembered Su Bai when he had visited the sect. He was truly exceptional. Unfortunately, he didn't have Zhuge Jing's luck. In his view, Su Bai had been even more exceptional than Zhuge Jing when he arrived. However, the latter had an exceptional opportunity and took the first step. All this was just speculation. Jiang Hao didn't know what cultivation realm Su Bai was in. Around early March, Jiang Hao stared at the heavenly fragrance Dao flower. He noticed that there were new flower buds just forming on the stem. This worried him a bit. Once it matured, it would cause a commotion. However, it was also a good thing because Hong Yue and Elder Baiji would be pleased. Hong Yue would stop pestering him, and Elder Baiji might send him more treasures. "What are you looking at, master?" the spirit beast asked as it wiped its drool from its mouth. Jiang Hao glanced at the beast and appraised the heavenly fragrance Dao flower. Heavenly fragrance Dao flower seedling. At the beginning of the primordial chaos, a flower was born in the world. After numerous years, the heavenly fragrance Dao flower bore fruit, then dropped seeds, and this is one of the seeds that germinated and broke through the soil. It has started budding, with the Hong Meng energy as its guide. It allows the flower to be infused with the will of the primordial chaos. It will evolve in the yin-yang space and manifest the 3,000 great Tao. During this process, it emits a fragrance, and its spiritual energy will nourish the surrounding beings. Watering it with a bowl of pure water once a day will make it grow faster. Chapter 806. The journey will benefit you unimaginably. Looking at the feedback of the heavenly fragrance Dao flower, Jiang 11Ao was surprised. He didn't expect that it would still need the guidance of the Hong Meng purple energy. He coincidentally possessed it, but it was rare. Shall I do it? After thinking for a moment, Jiang Hao decided to do it. This had no downside for him. Perhaps he could even gain something from it. Moreover, he could find out if he would get more bubbles from it. The purple energy emerged from his hands and gradually entered the flower. At that moment, the flower revealed many meridians, and the purple energy flowed like running water into them. After a while, a fragrance wafted out of the flower. It was refreshing and invigorating. It began to spread spiritual energy around. The spirit beast excitedly said, "Master, this is great. I am satisfied." Jiang Hao got up and watered the plant. He went about his daily routine. There was no news of any gathering, so it was enough to just take care of the present things. He checked on Chu Chuan and the others. Since the one with the Heavenly Tao Foundation establishment was in the west, Chu Chuan must have headed there. He had already grasped the basics of the Heavenly Blade. The fifth form could also be integrated into the previous sword techniques, which would benefit someone like Chu Chuan. He was someone who never accepted defeat. He was a determined person. Such sword techniques were fitting for him. As for Lin Ji, he needed something else. At the spiritual herb garden, Jiang Hao saw Cheng Cho. His cultivation progress wasn't fast. Even after several years, there were no signs of a breakthrough. Chu Chuan had already reached the late stage and was working toward the peak stage. He was curious about how Han Ming was doing. Jiang Hao cared about Han Ming. After cultivating for several years and encountering several opportunities, he should be showing signs of advancing to a new realm. Shaoli had given up on herself, and her master let her do as she pleased. But Han Ming was different. He had good innate talent, worked hard, and had good opportunities. He had become one of the most promising people among his peers. Han Ming was the only hope for the Cliff of Broken Hearts. Senior brother Han went to perform the sex tasks, Ching Cho said. Jiang Hao nodded and then asked Ching Cho if he had any difficulties with his cultivation. He tried to explain the problems in as much detail as possible in the spirit herb garden, so anyone who was coming in could listen in. For a while, some Foundation establishment realm cultivators hesitated but eventually came over to listen to the discussion. Some would ask 1 or 2 questions, and Jiang Hao answered all questions in detail. This was why they wanted to come to the garden. However, they also hesitated because of the blood vow path. It was widely known that Jiang Hao cultivated the blood vow path. His kindness was not without reason. If they listened, they would have to pay a price. But they didn't know when that day would come. The benefits were genuine. Some were willing to pay the price, while others wanted to receive the benefits before deciding. Jiang Hao didn't care about that. He was simply helping out and mostly wanted Ching Cho to succeed. This was to prepare him to reach the Golden Core realm. Ching Cho lacked sufficient innate talent, and the difficulty of the Golden Core realm was extremely high. If he understood enough and his cultivation was solid enough, then the difficulty would be greatly reduced. As for the final result, it all depended on one's luck. After that, Jiang Hao's days passed quietly. The sect hadn't had any conflicts with anyone lately, and the people in the Lawless Tower were busy with their own affairs. Managing the heavenly fragrance Dao flower with the purple energy didn't bring about more bubbles. Chu Chuan had already received the complete instruction in sword technique. 6 months later, around early September, Chu Chuan found him. "Senior brother Jiang, I want to leave the mountain," Chu Chuan said. Jiang Hao felt quite sentimental. He hadn't expected Chu Chuan to bring this up willingly. "Why the hurry?" he asked. He had intended for Chu Chuan to stay until he reached the Golden Core realm, at least. "I want to go out to see and experience the hardships of the cultivation world. Only then can I grow faster. I feel like my growth is stunted here. So, I want to go out," Chu Chuan said. Jiang Hao understood that his last trip outside had made him yearn for the outside world even more. After hesitating for a while, Jiang Hao said, "Where do you want to go?" "I haven't thought about it. I'll decide along the way," Chu Chuan said. Jiang Hao looked at him. "Then, head east first." "Huh." Chu Chuan was confused. Wasn't that too far away? With his cultivation, it would take hundreds of years even if he managed to reach there. When they went there before, it had been a matter of months because the sect had spent many resources to get them there. Chu Chuan, at the Foundation establishment realm, had neither special treasures nor strength to reach there in a very short time. If he could reach there in 100 years, that would be considered quite fast. Just set your sights to the east. The journey will be slow, but it'll be better. This journey will be enough for your advancement. When you reach the east and look back, you'll find the return journey to be much easier," Jiang Hao said. Chu Chuan looked eager. East. Chu Jia was still in the eastern region. It had been a long time since he had seen her. He hesitated. "But, can I really do it?" Jiang Hao looked at Chu Chuan. "Young people should be more eager. Don't worry about the distance or the time it'll take. Just take the path with your sword. Just ride your sword against the waves and compete with all living beings. Each step you take will be boundless if you set your sights on the goal. This journey will give you unbelievable benefit." Chu Chuan was stunned. He looked at the person before him with emotion. It seemed his senior brother was indeed exceptional. This was something Chu Chuan had never considered before. In front of Lord Beast and senior sister Shaoli, he seemed too ordinary. "I won't let you down, senior brother Jiang," Chu Chuan said firmly. Jiang Hao nodded and then asked Chu Chuan to get ready. 7 days later, Chu Chuan found Jiang Hao again. "Are you leaving the mountain?" "Yes." "Take these with you." Jiang Hao handed over a storage treasure. Inside were a primordial spirit sword, a primordial spirit protective artifact, 10,000 spirit stones, various pills, 5 concealment talismans, 5 hidden heaven secrets hidden talismans, and 2,000 miles teleportation talismans. The teleportation artifact he had received from junior sister Ning Shuang was also inside. Chu Chuan was incredulous. He didn't know the grades of these items, but he was aware that they were far from ordinary. Senior brother Jiang, the journey won't be easy. Just take it. Chu Chuan accepted the things humbly. When he left, it was Shaoli and the spirit beast who saw him off. He stepped out of the sect's main gate. He looked back and saw Shaoli waving to him, while Lord Beast reminded him to remember its name. It would make his journey easier. Chu Chuan looked at them. He didn't know when he would return. The days at the sect had been his happiest. But eventually one had to grow up. Wait for me. I will definitely come back better than this. Chapter 807. Gui. Am about to reach the west. Chu Chuan left. He embarked on his quest. Jiang Hao stood on the mountaintop and watched him leave. Maybe they would never meet again. In the future, he might also leave this place. Shaoli and the spirit beast would leave at some point too. The 4 regions were so vast that they might not meet each other again. Even if they were determined to search for one another, it would be almost impossible to find their location. As time passed, the matters of the Heavenly Note sect would also fade away. Perhaps one day they would look back and think of them as childhood friends. But maybe they might not remember their faces or even their names. The time they spent might be forgotten. Even if they had the ability to return, they might choose not to. However, it was different for Chu Jie. Chu Chuan's destination on this trip was the Bright Moon sect. He would never forget Chu Jie. Whether Chu Jie would remember him or not, that was an entirely different matter. In any case, these were the things that Chu Chuan needed to face, and his future would depend on his own fate. It's a long journey to the east. In many places, insufficient cultivation makes it impossible to cross. If he really reaches the east one day, I wonder what level of cultivation he will have. Jiang Hao sighed and turned back. In mid-September, the peach tree had already borne fruit. After a while, it would be ready for another incarnation. During this incarnation, he would be able to obtain another purple bubble. Unfortunately, he had obtained only 1 purple bubble so far. Getting another one wouldn't grant any divine abilities. However, he was close. After another 3 years, he would be able to obtain another divine ability. That wasn't too long. Before, he couldn't get a single divine ability for over a decade, but now, he was getting several in a dozen years. He had to learn to be content with it. For over half a year, he had been waiting for another gathering. He didn't know when it would start. Many things hadn't been discussed yet, so he was quite concerned. During that period, the end of all things had planned a lot. He didn't know what the Old Man Corpse C would do when he emerged. He also didn't know how the fallen Immortal clan was doing, but they might be making some progress. Jiang Hao felt the need to improve faster. While others were making progress, he couldn't afford to sit and do nothing. His talisman-making job had been delayed for a long time. He couldn't make better talismans. It hindered his progress. So, he spent more time on spells and divine abilities. He couldn't calm his mental state as he wanted. If his state of mind improved too quickly, he might lose sight of what was important and make some dangerous decisions. During that period, Hai Ming didn't come by. He also didn't know if Feng Hua was still planning something, but he was okay with it. He only worried when he was close to his goals. That was when the enemy would strike. He had to find someone to delay the others. When he returned home, Shaoli and the spirit beast looked defeated. Chu Chuan's departure had made them feel sad. They were fine a few days ago because they were always together. They had suddenly lost a member of their group. They had never expected Chu Chuan to leave. However, this feeling only lasted for half a day. When it was time for a meal, Shaoli took the spirit beast and ran to the cafeteria. Half a month later, They were wondering if Chu Chuan would bring gifts when he returned. Around early October, Jiang Hao finally received the news of the upcoming gathering. I wonder how things are going with Zhang. In half a year, Dole's affairs should have been handled. He felt that Dole had more bad luck than good on this path, as he was being eyed by various major sections. Besides, Dole was only at the Golden Core realm. A situation such as this was difficult even for someone like Jiang Hao. He lived carefully and cautiously to avoid such a life. He constantly grew stronger so that he could deal with such situations. By being stronger than them, he wouldn't have to bow to them and accept his fate. Jiang Hao waited for midnight. When it was time, Jiang Hao entered the hall and noticed that Zhang looked a little odd. Two conflicting auras were emanating from her. One was extremely chaotic, while the other was transcendently detached. She was in a poor state. The others, including Xing, were also surprised by Zhang's condition. They thought of a possibility. Zhang might have been preparing to ascend to the immortal ascension platform but was invaded by her inner demon. It seems friend Zhang has many cultivation problems today. Dan Yuan smiled. Jiang Hao and the others looked at Zhang and waited for her to speak. At that moment, Zhang seemed to be in a daze as she looked up at Senior Dan Yuan. How can I overcome the inner demon? Dan Yuan nodded slightly and smiled. The inner demon is the flip side of your state of mind. It's another you. The best way to suppress it is to face it, understand it, and finally, conquer it. The method is profound and incomprehensible. However, there is a simpler method. The immortal will. You have to reach for that and expand it to suppress your demon. The method requires you to confront the demon directly. Jiang Hao was amazed. Normally, once someone entered seclusion, communication would be impossible. Zhang was facing her inner demon, yet she was able to communicate through the stone tablet. Moreover, they had Senior Dan Yuan here. With his help, maybe her process would be easier. They were unsure what the price for this information would be. Such help was invaluable. Zhang wanted to speak, but Dan Yuan said, "This is also a problem with your cultivation. I can help you with more explanation, young friend." Free of charge? Jiang Hao was shocked. This was an incredible opportunity. At that moment, Dan Yuan slowly began explaining the immortal will. Although Jiang Hao listened intently, he couldn't understand it entirely. This was not something a cultivator like him could understand. Even Xing and the others only grasped a fraction of it. Only Zhang gained many insights into it. After a long while, Dan Yuan stopped speaking. This can help you resist the inner demon better. Whether you can bloom within the inner demon ultimately depends on yourself. Zhang thanked him. Dan Yuan looked at the others. No one spoke. Do we have any news about the sage's page? Dan Yuan asked. I received some information. It seems to be in the west, but I don't know about the exact location. There is a good chance it might be near wherever the one with the Heavenly Tao Foundation establishment is, said Xing. It might indeed be in the west. I heard that the Master of the Heavenly Tower is also headed that way, said Lu. Jiang Hao suddenly remembered what Gu Jin had mentioned. Some individuals from the Astronomical Academy also went to find the ancient pages to establish their own sect. The Master of the Heavenly Tower might have had a similar idea. All these reasons made them feel like the ancient pages were probably in the west. Dan Yuan nodded. Did you find any more information? They shook their heads. Dan Yuan told them that he would confirm it soon enough. With no further questions, they began their transactions. I've obtained the ancient and modern book, and am about to reach the west. It's quite far from the Academy's location. I also met Wu Yang and discussed matters with him. He wanted to leave, so I helped him, said Gue. She felt like she had gained a lot from this trip. Chapter 808. Gue, danger should be in the south, right? Gue completed her task and waited for her reward. What do you need? Lu asked. The task hadn't been something big, so the reward wouldn't be great either. As for releasing someone from the lawless tower, Gue did it willingly. Her deal with Wu Yang wasn't part of this transaction. I want news about the Heavenly Spirit tribe. Gue looked at Zhang. Jiang Hao was surprised. Why did Gue suddenly want information about the Heavenly Spirit tribe? It wasn't so surprising when he thought about it carefully. Last time, she had asked for the heaven-bestowed cultivation technique. So, her asking for the Heavenly Spirit tribe this time was reasonable. Both Zhang and Lu also felt the same. Zhang told her that if she succeeded in her ordeal, she would help Gue find some information about the tribe. Then, Zhang looked at Jing awkwardly. Your person is still alive. Jiang Hao nodded. It was lucky that Dole was still alive. Zhang should focus on her advancement. A failed transaction was just that. It was no big deal. But a failed advancement could mean certain death. Everyone here did what they felt was right after weighing the gains and losses. There were no more transactions after that. Everyone began discussing the events happening around them. I met Shang-En and I could feel a kind of ethereal energy around him. He is truly amazing. It was the first time I saw an immortal like him. In the time it takes for an incense stick to burn, I gained many insights, said Xing. Gue looked at him worriedly. Friend Xing, is it your turn soon? Xing shook his head and sighed. That kind of opportunity might take 10 or 100 years. It's impossible to explain. Jiang Hao lowered his head and wondered whether he should wait for an opportunity too. I asked the questions you wanted, said Xing. He looked at Gue. Shang-En said that if someone encountered the opportunity he created but failed to ascend, then there is no need to worry. There will definitely be another chance. It is up to fate. Gue was quite pleased. Xing then looked at Lu. To your question, Shang-En said, the world in my eyes is the same as the world in your eyes. We are all the same, and if we feel differently, it's probably because of how we had to live our lives. Lu nodded. He was lost in thought. Xing then looked at Zhang. I asked him what you wanted. He said, if someone wanted to kill me, I wouldn't forgive them. Similarly, if I killed someone, I wouldn't seek their forgiveness. Zhang fell into deep thought. Jiang Hao looked at Zhang and felt odd. Was she thinking of what was good and evil for herself? Did she want an answer from the wise? While waiting, she had fallen into her inner demon. Nothing much happened in the south, but I saw many people from the overseas Shangguan family. They seemed to be looking for someone important. Some people from the Great Thousand God sect are still present, said Gue. I asked some members from the Great Thousand God sect. They said they aren't planning to enter the southern region for a while. Apart from the incidents in the south, I feel like they're up to something big. They're still in conflict with the Shangguan family. I'm not sure why. Also, the Great Thousand God sect is also fighting within itself. It seems it's a clash between different authority figures. The Great Thousand God sect wasn't united. Just like the 12 branches of the Heavenly Note sect, it was entirely normal for them to fight each other. If different sectors within the law enforcement hall could fight among themselves, it was entirely possible for a sect to be divided. Jiang Hao could fully understand this. Although these things happened in the south, they had nothing to do with him. It couldn't affect him. Lu thought for a moment. Lately, there has been something strange in the abyssal sea. It seems some kind of light appeared there, but I'm not sure why. Some say that something is about to emerge from there, but it's still uncertain what it could be. Light? Gue asked. The Xianyuan sword has been shining lately. I don't know why. It's been shining since I left, and I heard it's still shining. They think that the Grand Earth Emperor might be coming out of seclusion. The immortal seed of the fallen immortal clan is about to bloom, said Jiang Hao in a low voice. Everyone was stunned. Immortal seed is about to bloom? Gue asked in disbelief. Jiang Hao nodded. The fallen immortal clan is formidable. They created the 9 nether. If they are doing something, it's not surprising that the Xianyuan sword is reacting to it, Lu said. Are they planning to become immortals again? It was very likely. Apart from Xing, it seemed that no one present had issues with the fallen immortal clan. Regardless, they needed to pay attention to such matters. Is the fallen immortal clan overseas or in the west? Lately, a Dead Sea has appeared overseas and is affecting everything. That must be the fallen immortal clan's doing, said Lu. It must be the Old Man Corpse Sea, Jiang Hao said. Old Man Corpse Sea made a deal with the end of all things. They would help him leave the corpse realm in exchange for awakening a corpse. Everyone felt alarmed. When did all this happen? They had no knowledge of this whatsoever. And who was this Old Man Corpse Sea? Is he from the Divine Corpse sect? Dan Yuan asked with a smile. Jiang Hao nodded. You are correct as always, senior. Everyone was puzzled. What's the deal with awakening a corpse? Asked Gui. Everyone knew about the end of all things. They wanted the world and all the living beings destroyed. Awakening a corpse would be extremely dangerous. It's a corpse that seeks resurrection. Once awakened, it will consume the vitality of living beings in its quest for revival and bring calamity to all living creatures on Earth, Jiang Hao said. He wanted to inform these people. He hoped Gui would continue asking more questions. Sure enough, she did. So, this corpse must be in the south, right? Everyone knew by now that all dangerous entities resided in the south. However, Jing shook his head. It's in the west. Gui was stunned. The west? Why would it be in the west? She wondered if she was just unlucky. Why did danger follow everywhere she went? Zhang didn't ask anything. She seemed to have no energy. Both Lu and Xing were curious. This information had significant implications. The West has immortal sections. Dangerous matters should be handled by the immortal sects, Dan Yuan said with a smile. Gui nodded. She decided to find a way to send a message to the Astronomical Academy. This wave, if there were dankers, there would be others to deal with them. Jiang Hao remained silent. He had said what needed to be said. It was up to these people to handle the rest. As for the West, he didn't want to go there. It was too risky. Whether it was about the ancient pages or the end of all things, everything seemed to be brewing in the West. Since the one with the Heavenly Tao Foundation establishment was in the West, the end of all things must have been planning this all along. Chapter 809. Cannot shirk the responsibility of the minds. Jiang Hao said all he wanted to say. Old Man Corpse Sea might have left the corpse realm. The end of all things was waiting for the corpse to awaken. The immortal seed of the fallen immortal clan was about to bloom. The first issue wasn't too important, but the other two were likely to cause some commotion. It was necessary to let everyone know and then let them handle the problems. That would be beneficial for everyone. After learning about the situation, Gui seemed rather numb. She felt like she had even greater darkness awaiting her. Perhaps it was a mistake to leave. Some other matters were also discussed during the gathering. Lu mentioned Qi Tian. He stated that he had been gaining favor from Heavenly King Taomu. His influence was growing stronger. His reputation was soaring. With the help of the Heavenly King, his cultivation was advancing rapidly. Jiang Hao couldn't help but sigh at Qi Tian's opportunities. While others faced the sect's opposition, they had long since withdrawn into a corner and faded away. On the contrary, he not only avenged his family but also gained the recognition of an influential figure. And now, his name resounded throughout the world. Now, it was just a matter of breaking away from Jiang Hao. Jiang Hao didn't need to ask to know that Qi Tian would be making preparations to deal with him. Lu also mentioned that Mi Lingyue and Mu Longyu had some dispute. After the disagreement, Mi Lingyue disappeared overseas. Gui was very interested in that. She mentioned something about someone in the Lawless Tower. They were still speculating about what happened between the two people and why the Heavenly Note sect had arrested someone again. Jiang Hao listened intently. After all, the reason Mi Lingwei entered the Lawless Tower was essentially because of him. Mi Lingwei really wanted to break away from the Great Thousand God sect. The Great Thousand God sect had a remarkable means of control, but their true intentions weren't clear. Heavenly King Hai Luo seemed to know something but wouldn't talk. It had nothing to do with him anyway. It was better to avoid getting involved if possible. As long as it didn't affect him, he was fine with it. The gathering ended. Jiang Hao returned to his house and took out a notebook to record everything. The sage's pages were likely in the west, since the master of Heavenly Tower was also heading that way. Zhang was about to advance, but for that, she needed to overcome her inner demon. Dole's condition was uncertain. He had informed them that the fallen immortal clan's immortal seed was about to bloom and that the corpse in the west was about to be awakened, but he hadn't told them that it could happen in Sea Sky Forest. Jiang Hao didn't note down the matter of Qi Tian, Mi Lingwei, the Abyssal Sea, and the overseas Shangguan family. These were all unimportant matters. He didn't write down about Qi Tian especially because he wanted to be able to tell Hong Yuye in person. He didn't want it to seem like he hadn't done anything. After putting away the book, Jiang Hao mediated. Since he had reached the Immortal Ascension platform, his understanding of realms had also increased. He was flipping Cultivation books. Jiang Hao was willing to take out the Blood Vow Path book to review it. The more he understood about these things, the better prepared he would be when facing such formidable enemies. If he was able to launch a surprise attack, he wouldn't have to worry about confronting his enemy head-on. In the early morning, Jiang Hao walked into the courtyard and gazed at the heavenly fragrance Dao flower. "Beast, wake up," said Shaoli from the outside. She peeked in from the doorway to check if Jiang Hao was around. "Why are you being so loud and sneaky?" Jiang Hao sighed but didn't say it aloud. "Senior brother Jiang," Shaoli tiptoed in. Then, she glanced at the peach tree. "Go ahead and pick some," Jiang Hao said. Shaoli came early in the morning to pluck the peaches because they were ripening. She also noticed the pleasant fragrance in the courtyard. She liked the fragrance when it lingered on her. That way, she smelled good since she tended to wander around the sect and get her clothes stained, which smelled bad sometimes. "Thank you, senior brother Jiang." Shaoli came under the tree to start picking peaches. She plucked the smallest one for Jiang Hao. Jiang Hao took a bite and then used his half-moon blade to lift the spirit beast. Shaoli held the peaches in her hands. "Senior brother Jiang, do you think the beast dreams of eating peaches?" "Perhaps," Jiang Hao said indifferently. "Then, would the beast leave a few for me?" Shaoli asked again. "Will you leave any for it?" Jiang Hao asked in return. "I will. The beast likes eating carrots and I always feed it carrots," she said. "I am afraid it can't handle meat, so I always help it to finish them." Jiang Hao was quite surprised but didn't say anything. Jiang Hao headed to the spirit herb garden. He saw Mu Qi and Miao Tinglian there. He handed over the spirit beast to Shaoli. He went over to greet them. "Senior brother, senior sister, greetings." Mu Qi nodded with a smile. "I came to talk to you about something, junior brother Jiang. I feel a bit embarrassed to bring it up." Jiang Hao felt puzzled and instinctively looked at Miao Tinglian in concern. Before, it was only her pestering him. Had Mu Qi joined her too? "We're not here to find you a partner," Miao Tinglian said. Jiang Hao breathed a sigh of relief. Miao Tinglian said disapprovingly, "Junior brother Jiang, I do still feel like you lack a partner. I found someone just right for you. Unfortunately, she was snatched away by another sect." A golden core realm cultivator at such a young age should have a partner. Jiang Hao didn't pay much attention to Miao Tinglian's words but looked at Mu Qi and asked about the matter. "The sect has assigned me a task. It isn't a big deal, but Miao Tinglian has been a bit unwell lately. She might not be able to handle some things," said Mu Qi and hesitated. "So, I wanted to ask if you are free." Jiang Hao didn't hesitate. "What task is it, senior brother Mu?" My task was to guard the outskirts of the mines before. But now, in being asked to investigate inside the mines, I could occasionally visit the mines and make sure it was all right before. But to investigate the inside of the mines, I would have to stay there longer, said Muchi. Senior Sister Miao Tinglian's health requires your attention. That should be your priority. Leave the job to me, Senior Brother Mu. I won't let you down, said Jiang Hao firmly. Well, entering the mines has its own risk. My job as a team leader is quite a stressful one, so it will be the same for you, said Muchi. Jiang Hao just earnestly said, I'll do my best. Please don't worry. The ones accompanying me would have been in the early or middle stages of the Golden Core realm. I think you can handle them, but, just to be safe, don't venture in too deep. Even if the task fails, I'm willing to take the punishment. Don't put yourself in danger, said Muchi. We can also give you some good stuff so that you won't feel like we are exploiting you, Miao Tinglian said. Please don't find me a new partner. Jiang Hao didn't say that out loud. He couldn't pass up such a good opportunity. Muchi and Miao Tinglian were always very kind to him. He was curious about Miao Tinglian's health. Jiang Hao glanced over and didn't notice any signs of weakness. But she sensed something peculiar. In an instant, he thought of the Heavenly Saint sect. Miao Tinglian was one of the saintess candidates for the Heavenly Saint sect. Because of such a status, the Heavenly Saint sect wouldn't let her off easily. After hesitating for a moment, he decided to appraise her. If he couldn't sense what was wrong with her even with his current cultivation realm, it must be something extraordinary. Chapter 8:10. The person most likely to become the charm goddess Miao Tinglian was a very eager person. She was so eager and enthusiastic about everything that Jiang Hao sometimes wanted to avoid meeting her. Over the years, she kept introducing potential partners to him. He always feared she would bring someone to meet him. He didn't want that to happen. However, she never meant him any harm. That put his mind at ease. He activated his daily appraisal to see what was wrong. Miao Tinglian, one of the saintess candidates of the Heavenly Saint sect, at the late stage of the Golden Core realm. She joined the Heavenly Note sect and betrayed the Heavenly Saint sect to become an inner sect disciple of the Cliff of Broken Hearts. The Holy Master of the Heavenly Saint sect is showing signs of a revival. An avatar will appear soon and will need a saintess to refine his divine soul. Being marked, she's being watched by the main avatar. There are signs of its approach. The divine soul can nourish the mountain sea seal. Most of the information wasn't surprising for Jiang Hao. However, the last part was astonishing. Nourish the mountain sea seal? The mountain sea seal could be nourished? That was incredible. Using the soul for nourishment was surprising. If it could make the mountain sea seal stronger, that would be great. However, it was unclear how to catch this divine soul. The mission starts in about 2 months, so you don't need to rush, Junior Brother Jiang. Use the time to prepare well, Muchi said. Jiang Hao nodded. Actually, he was already prepared. He could even go now if needed. The only thing that would delay him was the incarnation of the immortal peach tree. There was nothing comparable to mining. The only thing he was concerned about was acting as the team leader. After having achieved the Golden Core realm, he always had to lead a group. Before, he would only follow instructions and do his part. Jiang Hao glanced at Miao Tinglian and felt that the main body of the Holy Master was about to arrive. Should I inform the Master? Senior Brother's strength might not be enough to stop it. However, the Cliff Master would have no problem dealing with the Divine Soul. Although Jiang Hao's strength was decent, it was still far inferior to the Cliff Master. He didn't know how to inform him, so he could only wait and see. As for nourishing the mountain sea seal, Jiang Hao decided to leave the mountain sea seal around the spirit herb garden. If he went to the mine, they would naturally have to take care of the garden. So, leaving the seal here would at least alert him when the divine soul arrived. If it didn't work, He would find a way to inform the Cliff Master or Lu Xingchen. He could also have the spirit beast on alert so that it could inform Shaoli. Shaoli's involvement would make the Cliff Master curious. After all, the most important thing for Shaoli was to be healthy. 2 months later, around early December, Jiang Hao stood in front of the immortal peach tree. These 2 months had been calm, but the Candlelight Pill Pavilion had given him a list of top-grade spirit herbs to plant. It was a total of 100 herbs. It was a considerable quantity, but he declined. He was about to head to the mines, so he couldn't stay here and tend to the spirit herbs. He explained everything truthfully so that the disciples wouldn't feel offended by his refusal. As an apology, he gave them a few talismans. He hadn't been selling talismans recently, but he still had quite a few left. He could give them away to avoid trouble. It was strange when people did the same to him. Indeed, he was different from before. In a few days, he'll be going to the mines. Jiang Hao sighed. He was going to leave just when the immortal peach tree would be ready for an incarnation. After it succeeded, he could go. The timing was just right. He appraised the tree. Immortal peach tree. It is related to the ancient divine tree, the immortal peach tree. It has a trace of the divine tree's traits, and the fruits it bears are sweet and fragrant. Leaving one fruit on the tree and setting up a spirit gathering array with 49,000 spirit stones in the vicinity can activate a trace of the divine trait and trigger an incarnation. After 3 successful incarnations, it will become a divine tree. Placing it near divine items increases the possibility of a successful incarnation. Less than 50,000. Jiang Hao breathed a sigh of relief. The amount of spirit stones had increased but not by much. It was uncertain how much it would be the next time. It could be a lot more. After all, it was the last 3 incarnations. But for him, it was a minor issue now. Before, he had 280,000 spirit stones. He had given 10,000 to Chu Chuan, so now, he was left with 270,000 spirit stones. If he used up 50,000, he would be left with 220,000. Even if he bought another pack of September-Spring, he would still have 180,000. He couldn't spend it all, no matter how he looked at it. After dealing with the incarnation of the immortal peach tree and the matters in the mines, he could return to the spirit herb garden and plant the high-grade herbs. He spent nearly 50,000 spirit stones, and the incarnation was finally triggered. The spirit beast watched it in astonishment. The fire on the peach tree burned all night. It watched as the peach tree was reduced to ashes. Early the next morning, Jiang Hao found a seed in the ashes. It was full of vitality. He appraised it. Immortal peach tree seed. It is a seed from the core of the divine tree. It possesses a trace of the divine trait. After it takes root and grows, it'll bear fruit. It will turn into a fully divine tree after 2 incarnations. Water it with fresh water every day, and it will sprout in 2 days. It'll sprout in 2 days, and will turn into a divine tree after 2 incarnations. I wonder what the divine tree will be like. Jiang Hao looked at the seed in anticipation. In 6 years, he would have a divine tree in his courtyard. At that time, it would surely give him more bubbles. 6 years wasn't too long. The future was promising. 2 days later, Jiang Hao walked into the courtyard. He sighed in relief as he looked at the purple bubble. Divine ability fragment +1. He only had to obtain 1 more. Perhaps, in the next 3 years. He was concerned. After the final incarnation, what kind of bubbles would he get? For something like the immortal peach tree, it was highly likely that he would get a golden bubble. When he obtained a purple gold bubble before, he had gotten the Hong Meng Heart Sutra. He didn't know what it would be this time. Jiang Hao couldn't think of anything else that could compare to the Hong Meng Heart Sutra. The next day, Jiang Hao headed to the law enforcement hall after buying some tea. He was supposed to meet the others there for the task. This time, he decided to suggest splitting into 2 groups. He could mine while the others explored. They needed to choose another team leader. He had thought of it. He only needed a little time to appoint someone capable. Jiang Hao waited for the others. There were 5 people in total including him. 2 were from the Heavenly Joy Pavilion, and 2 others were from the Ice Moon Valley. Among those from the Heavenly Joy Pavilion, there was a man and a woman. The man looked refined and composed. The woman was dressed in black. She had a red mark on her face that resembled a lotus. Overall, she looked ordinary. However, she made him feel strange. She looked sort of bloated. However, when he looked at her carefully, he realized that she was very beautiful. Jiang Hao understood her issue. She had a charm body with impediments. It was like a curse. Her charm body was covered by hindrances. Jiang Hao realized that this person had a high possibility of becoming a charm goddess. Chapter 811. Being too rude might get you killed. I'm Li Min of the Heavenly Joy Pavilion, said the woman in black. I'm Wei Zhixiang from the Heavenly Joy Pavilion, said the handsome young man. I've heard quite a lot about you, junior brother. Jiang Hao looked at them and addressed them as seniors. Li Min was in the middle stage of the Golden Core realm. When she spoke, Jiang Hao could sense her resentment toward him. Wei Zhixiang was at the later stage of the Golden Core realm. He seemed to have just advanced. He was friendly when he spoke. Something's odd. If it's about senior sister Yunruo, it shouldn't matter to Li Min, so why is she hostile to me? Jiang Hao was puzzled. Junior brother Jiang, you're quite famous in the sect lately, said Wei Zhixiang. Jiang Hao lowered his head humbly. Senior brother, you're too kind. I just got lucky. After a while, 2 more people arrived. A man and a woman. A middle-stage Golden Core realm cultivator leading the team? The woman dressed in green turned up her nose at him. You look just ordinary. How can we trust you? Jiang Hao smiled and said politely, If it bothers you, senior sister, you can always raise questions about my decision, and we can all agree. He was fine with that. This was the best way to deal with those who looked down on him. He could also choose a new team leader in this way. Being a team leader was exhausting. It required taking care of his team members as much as possible. It always restricted his freedom. That's more like it, she said and nodded. With her was a man at the early stage of the Golden Core realm who stood silently by her side. Among them, he had the lowest cultivation realm. The woman from the Ice Moon Valley was Lu Xian. She was in the middle stage of the Golden Core realm. The man was Haiyun. The one with the highest cultivation was Wei Zhixiang from the Heavenly Joy Pavilion. After a while, the 5 arrived at the mines. Jiang Hao had replaced Mu Qi's spot as one of the supervisors. There was no need to meet the other seniors there, and they could enter the mine. They headed to the area where no one else was there. Upon arrival, they found that there were others inside. Just like them, 5 people were gathered into group. There were 2 groups in total. All were in the middle to late stages of the Golden Core realm. The team leaders were at the peak of the Golden Core realm or the early stage of the Primordial Spirit realm. There were 3 women and 2 men on the left. Their team leader was a woman. There was a group of another 3 men and 2 women on the right. Their team leader was a man. Jiang Hao was surprised. There seemed to be more people than expected. At that moment, there was only one path ahead, and it seemed they were discussing who should enter first. We arrived first. Why are you stopping us from going in? Said one of the women in the late stage of the Golden Core realm. Her team leader was at the early stage of the Primordial Spirit realm, so she didn't need to fear anyone. You arrived first? Said a man and frowned. Didn't you see our people at the entrance when you arrived? We saw the entrance from afar. Is there any problem with us entering first? No one has said anything. Why are you stopping us? Asked a woman at the late stage of the Golden Core realm. Are you all blind? Didn't you see the entrance? The man asked. If you didn't see us here first, then you must be blind, said the woman. You! Let's say you're right for argument's sake. Why would that be a problem in letting us in? Then, why didn't you let us in first since you saw us here? That's ridiculous. You won't let us in, so why should we let you in? It should have been us first. Jiang Hao and the other four remained silent and watched them argue. Finally, the man, at the peak of the Golden Core realm, stepped aside. It should have been this way from the beginning. Everyone else has nothing to say. It's just you who has a problem. Yet, you claim to have no issues with it now, said the woman coldly. After that, her group entered the mines, followed by the man's team. Jiang Hao waited for a while before entering. He could see it clearly. The man at the peak of the Golden Core realm had concealed his cultivation realm. He had already advanced to the early stage of the primordial spirit realm. He wondered if the remaining people would have a problem too. The next day, Jiang Hao's group found an underground river inside. The flow of water was quite astonishing. After a quick look around, they found a corpse by the shore. The body was of the woman who was arguing yesterday. Jiang Hao sighed. It was better to lie low and just be polite. It was less dangerous that way. The Heavenly Note sect was not a good place. Jiang Hao sneakily glanced at the four people in this group. He noticed their grim expressions. The dead woman was at the late stage of the Golden Core realm. The strongest among their group of 5 was also at the late stage of the Golden Core realm. How did she die? Li Min asked. Wei Zhixiang walked over to the body and examined it briefly. He found out that she was stabbed to death. Murdered, everyone knew who might have killed her. It must have been one of the 5 people from before. Jiang Hao didn't say anything and continued walking forward. Aren't they afraid of being discovered by the sect? Lu Xian asked indignantly. She didn't dare to speak too loudly. She suddenly felt that this place seemed much more dangerous than she had expected. Hai Yun followed behind quietly. The sect doesn't care about this place, Wei Zhixiang said. The group fell silent. Jiang Hao followed the river downstream. He remembered that there was lava in the mine before. Why was there an underground river now? After a while, they arrived at a wide opening. The river flowed down like a waterfall from there. They couldn't make out how deep the water was. We need to go down and take a look, Wei Zhixiang said. There's no other path here, Lu Xian said. The others agreed to explore further down. Soon after, the 4 of them looked at Jiang Hao. I think we should split up, Jiang Hao said. With our strength, we can't take the usual route. So, I think we need to make a new path away from the others. Make a new path? Lu Xian sneered. And how are we going to do that? Jiang Hao looked at the huge platform. He then came to a corner of the wall and patted it. This place looks like it can be dug through. We can make a cave here and follow through. Finding a mining vein is also good. A mine? Wei Zhixiang frowned. Are we going to mine here? Jiang Hao shook his head. No. I'll do it. The 4 were puzzled and a bit skeptical. We can treat this as our base. I will dig and search for mining veins. Seniors, if any of you face danger while exploring below, you can retreat and converge here so that we can discuss further. If you find something useful, then it will be yours. Everyone thought about it. It was a bit strange. Staying here to mine was quite dangerous because there might be many monsters in the mining veins. There were usually monsters lurking in mines discovered for the first time. There was another problem. Which normal Golden Core realm cultivator would run here just to mine? At that moment Li Min said, I think that is reasonable. I'll stay here and mine with junior brother Jiang. Chapter 8:12. I wanted to kill you. Jiang Hao sighed when he heard that senior sister Li Min wanted to stay. He had wanted to stay here alone and mine while they went off to explore. That way they could choose a new leader. However, now that they were split into 2 or 3 groups, the team couldn't go too far. They couldn't elect a new leader for the group. I can try and explore. Wei Zhixiang nodded. Then, the three of us will go down and take a look. You two can mine here, said Luoxian. She never thought someone would stay and dig. It was baffling, but she didn't care. After confirming the location, the three of them went down the waterfall to explore. On the empty platform, only Jiang Hao and Li Min of the Heavenly Joy Pavilion were left. Jiang Hao looked at her and frowned. She was in the middle stage of the Golden Core realm and didn't seem to like him much. It was very likely that she might suddenly attack. Such people were the most bothersome. How do you plan to start digging, junior brother? Li Min suddenly asked. Jiang Hao brought out his pickaxe and walked to the stone wall. He sensed it and then tapped it with his palm. Then, he used the pickaxe to dig. The rocks here were very solid. If they blasted the place, it looked suspicious. So, he could only use his pickaxe to dig little by little. He wasn't sure if there were ores here, but he wanted to find a place to mine quietly since he was already here. He was surprised to see that while he mined, Li Min also used a magic treasure to dig. This wasn't a big deal, but Jiang Hao could sense her resentment. He felt helpless. She might be planning something against him. After a long time, Jiang Hao sat down to rest and deliberately gave her a chance to act. At that moment, he could clearly sense that Li Min was staring at him and had activated the magic treasure in her hand. Jiang Hao was still sitting with his eyes closed. He was just waiting for her to make a move. However, she did nothing. He turned around and continued mining. Jiang Hao looked over curiously and saw senior sister Li Min burying herself in the mine. After a moment, he took a break again. The next day, he continued to mine. This time, senior sister Li Min was the one taking a break. She lowered her head and seemed lost in thought. After a while, she suddenly said, "Junior brother Jiang, do you still remember junior sister Yunrua?" Jiang Hao was taken aback. He put his pickaxe down. "I do. Senior sister Yunrua was the cause of all his troubles in the beginning. Because of Yunrua, he was targeted by many people and was even sent to the law enforcement hall. That was when he was put on the suspect list and was barred from venturing outside the sect. Many people from the Heavenly Joy Pavilion and the Pavilion Master hated him for it. It got to the point that he could have been murdered at the Heavenly Joy Pavilion if he wasn't careful. They had tried to do it on his trip to Devil's Denver. He would have been killed long ago if he wasn't careful. More than 10 years had passed since the incident, but it seemed the matter was still not over. The people from the Sunset Immortal sect had not let him off easily either. The Pavilion Master of the Heavenly Joy Pavilion was the same. His advancement to higher realms had been disturbed because of that, so he couldn't let it go. Although senior sister Yunrua hadn't been able to cause him direct harm, she had affected his life in many ways. "Junior brother, have you ever regretted killing her?" Li Min asked. Jiang Hao didn't answer the question. Li Min didn't seem to expect an answer. Because of junior sister Yunrua's death, many people's lives have changed, especially our branch. "What do you mean, senior sister?" Jiang Hao asked. He did not understand what she wanted to do. "When I was young, my master brought me up the mountain. He valued me very much, and it seemed he needed me," Li Min whispered. "Master was very good to me. I had never met such a kind person since I was a child. But when I was 16, my body changed. Master no longer looked at me with that kind of expectation. There was only disappointment and disdain." Jiang Hao lowered his head. The Pavilion Master of Heavenly Joy Pavilion needed a charm body to advance. However, since her charm body was interrupted by her anomaly, she was useless to him. "Master no longer pays attention to me, nor does he look at me anymore," Li Min said. "But I have hope. I might be just one of Master's many disciples, but Master is everything to me. You killed senior sister Yunrua, and the Master was furious. I hate you too. You ruined everything for the Master." Li Min stared at Jiang Hao. "I want to kill you. Then, why didn't you do it when you had the chance?" Jiang Hao asked. Li Min lowered her head and fell silent for a long while. I was in the middle stage of the Golden Core realm, and you were in the early stage of the Foundation Establishment realm at that time. I'm still where I was, but you are already at the middle stage of the Golden Core realm. Such speed, such talent. Maybe it's because of the blood wish path like the others say. Whatever it might be, I can't compare to you. I immo that if I make a move, I won't be your match. I don't want to die yet. Jiang Hao was a little surprised. So, that was why she didn't make a move. Do you know why the pavilion master valued you? He asked. I know. It's because of the charm body. But the master needs someone who has successfully mastered the charm body for his advancement. I thought I could be the one, but I wasn't. It was junior sister Yun Ruo he wanted. Li Min laughed bitterly. I wanted to do something for my master, but I realized that I can't do anything. When junior sister Yun Ruo died, I was a little happy. I felt like she had stolen the master for herself, and she was finally dead. Jiang Hao frowned. He couldn't understand the thoughts of the person in front of him. However, everyone had their own story. He wasn't the right person to judge her. He just didn't understand why she was opening up to him. Master still won't look at me, said Li Min and turned to look at Jiang Hao. He still looks so disappointed every day. It's all your fault. She looked at him with resentment. Jiang Hao lowered his head helplessly. I know you want to kill me to avoid trouble in the future. Isn't that true? Li Min suddenly asked. Jiang Hao had actually thought about it. However, he now thought of another way. It would be better for both of them. Boom. While Jiang Hao was thinking, the river suddenly surged. Immediately after, someone retreated. It was a woman dressed in blue. Jiang Hao realized that she was the woman from the first team that was led by an early-stage primordial spirit realm cultivator. Please help me, she said when she saw them. A huge tree branch was chasing after her. Please save me. I'm willing to pay spirit stones, she said. Jiang Hao moved. The branch was not that strong. The source of the magic might be too far away. If it was struck with a strong force, it might retreat. He used the first form of the heavenly blade, Moon Slaying. Boom! Moonlight flashed. The tree branch shrank back, just as Jiang Hao had guessed. Senior sister, are you all right? He stood before the blue-robed woman. What are you waiting for? Hurry and help me up, she said. Do you want spirit stones? Chapter 8:13. Didn't you intend to kill her, junior brother? Jiang Hao looked at her. He didn't expect her to use that tone with him after he had helped her out. She was so rude that Jiang Hao thought she must have only survived in the Heavenly Note sect because she had been living in hiding. An aura suddenly appeared behind him. Then, a figure flashed past him. At that moment, the woman on the ground looked furious. Before she could do anything, a sword slashed across her neck. Her blood splattered all over the ground. The blue-robed woman was stunned. She felt her vision go blurry. She didn't even know what had happened. Why did I end up like this? Jiang Hao stood in place and turned to look at senior sister Li Min in surprise. Why had she suddenly attacked the blue-robed woman? Li Min picked up the blue-robed woman's storage treasure and handed it to Jiang Hao. When he didn't accept it, she looked at him. Junior brother Jiang, weren't you waiting to kill her and take her spirit stones? Jiang Hao was silent. He never had that intention. However, he reached out to take the storage treasure. He discovered that the storage treasure contained only a bit of spirit stones. It was more than 700 in total. During advancement, Golden Core Realm and beyond took a lot of spirit stones. People in those realms needed pills which cost a lot of spirit stones. Magical treasures also cost a lot of spirit stones. Only after reaching a certain stage would one be able to rely less on spirit stones. Before that, disciples usually had to save a lot of spirit stones to be able to advance to higher realms. He kept the spirit stones and gave the rest of the things to Li Min. She accepted it without any hesitation, but she looked at the things as though they didn't belong to her. Perhaps she thinks that it'll kill her and snatch her things away. Jiang Hao walked away and continued to mine. They hadn't been able to find any mineral veins, so he hadn't earned even one bubble in 2 days. If he mined without obtaining even one bubble, it would be such a disappointment. Li Min looked at Jiang Hao and frowned. She didn't understand why he wasn't trying to get rid of her. Jiang Hao just continued digging. The magical branch just now had been a little strange. This place wasn't as peaceful and safe as he had expected. 5 days passed that way. Jiang Hao still hadn't found any ores. The rocks here were getting tougher, and the consumption of spiritual energy was much higher than expected. He felt that this place was somewhat strange. It is no wonder this place didn't fall even when other sects joined hands to attack it. The Black Heaven sect had joined hands with other sects to attack the mines in the Heavenly Note sect to find some treasure in this place. At that time, they had gained a lot, but the mines had remained intact. There were many secrets in this place. Those people had only scratched the tip of the iceberg. The closer Jiang Hao got to it, the more he felt that even the power of the Immortal Ascension platform wasn't enough to shake this place. He now understood how terrifying the mines were. Jiang Hao was still thinking of a way to find a mineral vein when a person suddenly flew up from the waterfall. Something has happened. It was Hai Yun. He was the weakest among the group. He was only at the early stage of the Golden Core realm. Jiang Hao saw that he was injured in many places. It felt like a tree branch had tried to strangle him. What happened? He asked as he put away the pickaxe. Hai Yun was surprised to see the pickaxe. He thought this person had come prepared. The seniors, he stammered. Something happened to them. I only managed to escape because I was too far away. What exactly happened? Jiang Hao asked. As the leader, he would have to take care of such things. There was no other way. On the path of cultivation, everyone had to be responsible for their own actions. Danger could come at any time. If he couldn't avoid it, he would only fall. Everyone understood this, but not many people accepted it. We saw a large tree below. The tree seemed to pierce the mountain. It was difficult to climb to higher areas. We observed it from afar. We thought about going around it, but the tree suddenly started attacking us. The seniors are trapped there and they can't escape, said Hai Yun. Does the tree have fruits? Jiang Hao asked. No. Hai Yun shook his head. Jiang Hao looked at him and nodded. He appraised him. Hai Yun, inner sect disciple of the Ice Moon Valley of the Heavenly Note sect. He has great talent and is in the early stage of the Golden Core realm. He knows that you are quite strong, so he wants to lure you down to open the way. While 4 people fight and find a way, he intends to pluck the fruit from the tree. Jiang Hao wasn't surprised by it. Many people in the demonic sects were like this, so there was nothing to worry about. Even the immortal sects had quite a few cunning people among them. However, he had to go down and look before deciding to save the others. There were no ores here, so there was nothing to gain by staying there. Perhaps there was a mineral vein below. Let's go and take a look. Jiang Hao walked forward. Li Min glanced at Hai Yun and hesitated for a moment before following him. Thank you, seniors, Hai Yun said gratefully. They went down. Jiang Hao was vigilant of his surroundings. He looked at the river. The deeper he went, the more eerie the river became. It seemed to be gradually losing its vivacity and meandering deeper. After a while, he landed on the ground and saw that the river had turned black. When he looked up, he saw that the entire waterfall was black. When we first came down, we discovered this. Although the water looks like that, there was no other problem, said Hai Yun. Jiang Hao looked at it for a while and didn't say anything. Although it looked black, it wasn't the Black Sea from the corpse realm. It's just ahead. Hai Yun led the way. After a while, the black water began to gather into a lake. On the other side of the lake, there was a huge tree that reached into the mountains. There was a forest under the tree. The seniors are trapped in the forest, said Hai Yun. Jiang Hao walked to the forest and frowned. It was a curse. He activated the Heaven Lock technique. The towering tree changed. It was as though endless curses had blended together and taken root in this place. He couldn't go up the tree, at least not in his current state. Where are they? Jiang Hao asked. Hai Yun led the way. He walked all the way inside the forest. Jiang Hao followed him in. He saw signs of struggle. Lu Xian and Wei Zixiang's feet were bound by ivy and root. They only managed to block or dodge the tree branches that attacked them. There was also the aura of the curse on their bodies. Their skin was affected, and their cultivation realms were declining. The two of them regretted being greedy. They shouldn't have come here just for the fruit. They would end up dead in this place because of their foolishness. At that moment they heard someone approach. They turned and realized it was Jiang Hao and Li Min Hai Yun, who was at the back, had stopped in his tracks. Don't close to this area, Wei Zhixiang shouted. If you get close, I'll bind you. The aura is strange here. Wait here. Li Min stopped. Jiang Hao continued to walk forward. Wait here. Pull them out when the time comes. Li Min was surprised. Wei Zhixiang was anxious. He didn't know why Jiang Hao didn't listen to him. He would die in vain. It wasn't like he would be able to save them from this. It was already too late to stop him. Jiang Hao had entered the range of attack. Chapter 8:14. Why do I feel so lucky today? Lu Xian and Wei Zhixiang both felt that Jiang Hao was an idiot because he ignored their warning. Everyone was going to die here for no reason. They were just waiting for death. This was an impossible fight. If Jiang Hao had listened, he could have escaped with the others. However, he insisted on ignoring them and acted restlessly. Jiang Hao entered the range of the tree's power. They knew he would be trapped here like them. But his footsteps were powerful. They could feel the surrounding aura moving toward Jiang Hao as if they were trying to bind him. However, a demonic sound reverberated. It was the demonic sound/ability. While the two were still in shock, Jiang Hao walked over to them quickly. He was entirely unaffected by the tree's power. The roots and branches rushed toward him. Boom! The demonic sound/rang again. The tree branch that bound Wei Zhixiang and Lu Xian exploded. They were still in a daze as Jiang Hao rushed to their side. He placed the half-moon blade on the ground. Jiang Hao helped them break free and pushed them out of the forest. Li Min, who stood outside, pulled them out. That was what Jiang Hao had meant. When she remembered his words from before, Jiang Hao was already back by her side. He rushed forward. The others followed behind. Hai Yun was a little surprised. He didn't understand what had happened. In the blink of an eye, the other two had been rescued. His plan had failed. It was the end for him if they got suspicious of him. However, he did not dare to hesitate and immediately followed them. The tree branches were still chasing them. A while later, Jiang Hao and the others ran out of the forest. But the branches wouldn't leave them alone. No one dared to stop. They ran from the tree branches. Jiang Hao attacked. As expected, the branches retreated without much effort. He understood that once the branches were too far away from the source of power, they retreated if they were attacked. The same thing happened when he saved the woman in a blue dress. Jiang Hao looked around and found that they had ended up in an open area. He wasn't sure exactly where they were. He could only remember the place as the one they discovered in their exploration. The others looked at Jiang Hao in surprise. Wei Zhixiang was stunned. He hadn't expected Jiang Hao to be able to save them so easily. However, Jiang Hao's power saved them. He had jumped into the forest to save them while they had been complaining and shouting at him all this while. "Thank you, junior brother Jiang." He bowed in gratitude. "Thank you for saving my life. I didn't mean to offend you before," Lu Xian said apologetically. They now knew who was stronger among them. Lu Xian lowered her head and admitted her mistake. Jiang Hao shook his head and didn't say anything. He always saved people if he could. If not, there was nothing else he could do. After resting for a while, Wei Zhixiang looked at Hai Yun. I saw that you were in danger, so I rushed to find senior brother Jiang, said Hai Yun hurriedly. Wei Zhixiang didn't say anything and just nodded. Jiang Hao didn't pay any attention to them. He looked around. The nameless manual and the heaven lock technique overlap. It allowed him to sense things that most people couldn't. There was a strange power gathering here. The power was concentrated in two places. One was near the tree and the other was behind it. Jiang Hao turned around and saw a wall. I'll start mining here. You guys can explore around. This time, no one raised any objections. Jiang Hao was firmly accepted as the leader, and no one dared to question him. This is not an ordinary place. Please don't put yourself in danger for something small, said Jiang Hao. Oftentimes, desire ended in doom. It was better for everyone to learn to control their desires. If it was a simple thing, they could make a move. But if it was something unknown, it would probably be very dangerous. Many people could not resist the temptation. Wei Zhixiang lowered his head in shame. He had been too greedy before. If it wasn't for Jiang Hao, he would have been dead already. The other team members had to rush in to save him. That wasn't good. Jiang Hao stood in front of the wall and tried to perceive any changes. After a while, he struck out with his palm. Only when his palm struck hard rocks, he began to dig. The pickaxe might not be able to withstand this wall. He had to buy one after he left. He could find a blacksmith to forge one too. Somewhere in the west, Baizhu walked ahead and looked up at the mountain range in front of her with a sigh. Princess, are you unhappy? Qiao Yi asked. We traveled so quickly and were lucky enough to reach the west. I paid a huge price along the way and I also used up a lot of good luck. In the end, instead of a peaceful and quiet life, I feel like I am jumping into a fire pit, Baizhu said and sighed. Aunt Qiao, do you understand how I feel? Qiao Yi shook her head. She did not understand what the princess was worried about. However, it was a little surprising that they had actually arrived at the western border in such a short time. We'll reach the Astronomical Academy in a few months. I wonder what's the situation there now, Baizhu said. Princess, what are you going to do once you reach there? Qiao Yi asked. Inform them. Inform them about what? It's something that would secure our safety. You'll know when the time comes. Baizhu frowned. There's another teleportation array ahead. It's strange. I feel like I've been so lucky these past few days. Isn't that a good thing? Qiao Yi asked. It is, but I have a bad feeling about this, said Baizhu helplessly. It might be a waste to ignore such a shortcut. They examined to make sure nothing was wrong with the array. Then, the two stepped into the array. When they reappeared, they were in the western region. They had crossed the last mountain range in one fell swoop. Baizhu felt strange. When she walked into the city, she saw that some people were playing pitchpot. Aunt Qiao, let's go play too. Baizhu pulled Qiao Yi along with her. Then, she casually threw an arrow. With a clang, it landed in the pot. I truly feel lucky today. Baizhu smiled and continued to play. She shot arrow after arrow and didn't miss a single one. A total of 10 arrows went into the pot in the first attempt. Baizhu's face changed. The excitement and happiness turned into doubt. She was worried. This was not normal. It was too bizarre. How could she be this lucky with 1,000 curse body? Chapter 8:15. The Hidden Remnant Soul. Princess, you don't feel happy? Qiao Yi looked at Baizhu, who was looking at the prize and frowning. Aunt Qiao, I don't know. I feel like my luck just keeps getting better today, said Baizhu. Isn't that a good thing? Qiao Yi was puzzled. It's not. This sudden stroke of luck reminds me of something, said Baizhu and looked at Qiao Yi. There is something called dying flash. Qiao Yi felt that Baizhu was just overthinking. I'm serious, Baizhu said. Aren't you the #1 genius of the royal family? How can there be a problem when you are still only 300 years old? Xiao Yi asked. I just came of age, Baizhu said. She tried her luck again. It was indeed extraordinary. It's just, I shouldn't have such luck. It doesn't make sense. Princess, you've seen a sage become an immortal, and you're the first genius of the royal family. You're also one of the wealthiest people in the south, and you even helped with the awakening of the Grand Earth Emperor. Isn't it just natural for you to have such luck? Xiao Yi asked. Baizhu began to doubt herself. She thought for a moment. That's true. I also helped the one with the Heavenly Tao Foundation establishment to achieve that. I helped with sealing the Heavenly Fate Misfortune Pearl and the Earth Extreme Silent Pearl. It's only natural that I should be granted such luck. But no matter how she thought about it, she felt that something was not right. It was not normal for a person to be repeatedly lucky. No. I have to go into seclusion and check what's wrong with me, Baizhu said. On second thought, she still had to rush over to inform the Astronomical Academy. If she was late, it would mean death for all. Baizhu felt that it was all so difficult. She could have stayed in the south, but she had to rush to the west. In the end, she decided to go to the Astronomical Academy first. She would first solve the present issues. After that, she would focus on herself. Fortunately, they just needed to rush and didn't have other things to attend to. Jiang Hao felt the wall. He was unsure if there was a mine on the other side. If there was, he could use it to increase his cultivation points. If not, he had to be careful. The closer he got, the more he needed to pay attention to what might be on the other side. If it involved some strange powers, he would stop. This time, Jiang Hao was the only one left behind. The others went out to explore. As for the tree, no one dared to approach it again. 3 days later, Jiang Hao walked out of the mine and was about to reach the place from before. He needed to recover. The tree could be seen from where he was. A tree full of curses. Jiang Hao was worried. He wanted to get closer to appraise it. If possible, he wanted to try to wipe its trunk. If it was a divine tree, he might get something out of it. However, he wasn't in a hurry to go there. He had to see what was here first. If there was a mine, then there was no need to approach the cursed tree. Nothing was better than mining. It had taken 11 days for the heavenly fragrance Tao flower to produce blue bubbles. The cursed tree was not comparable to the heavenly fragrance Tao flower. The tree had already matured, but the heavenly fragrance Tao flower was still growing. After taking a break, Jiang Hao entered the mine again and began to swing his pickaxe. 3 days later, Jiang Hao stood in front of the wall. With a gentle push, he could see what was behind it from the cracks. He sensed that there was no special power nearby. Breaking through might not be risky. He took out the Immortal Mountain Sea Shield and the yin-yang bracelet. Jiang Hao used the half-moon blade to gently pick at the wall. He scraped the stones off bit by bit. A faint light escaped through the cracks. When the light dissipated, he saw a karst cave. There was a spring in the center of the cave, and a small piece of wood was rooted in the water. Jiang Hao was surprised. There was only a piece of wood in the center. After putting away the bracelet, he approached it. The wood looked a little strange. There was a life aura surrounding it. He appraised it. Longevity wood, a branch broken from the longevity tree. It has the power to nourish a soul. A remnant soul is hidden inside. It will gradually recover by borrowing the power of the mountain range. Jiang Hao was surprised. This was what Lu Xingqian was looking for. As expected, there were many opportunities in the mine. The longevity wood and the remnant souls inside were treasures for growth. This longevity wood could be considered a magic treasure. Perhaps he could try to wipe it. As for the remnant soul inside, Jiang Hao didn't plan to touch it yet. He decided to go to take a closer look. In the spring, Jiang Hao flew to the wood. The wood was about 2 meters tall and as thick as an arm. He touched it lightly. There was dust there. He took out his cloth and gently wiped it. As expected, a bubble fell. Spirit soared +1. The first one was a green bubble. There might be a lot of gains later. As he wiped, bubbles fell one by one. Strength +1, spirit +1, cultivation +1, lifeblood +1. The longevite wood was on so tall. It didn't take lawns for Jian's how to finish wiping it. In the end, he obtained 11 blue bubbles. He would have had to struggle 3 or 4 months outside to get that many. He sighed and turned around to leave. He had only planned to come here to mine. Who knew that he could find treasures to wipe clean? After packing his things, Jiang Hao walked out of the cave. Inside the longevity wood, the remnant soul was surprised. The person had left just like that. He didn't do anything. He had only approached to wipe the wood. It wondered whether the person knew that this was the longevity wood. It hesitated for a while, and then decided to stop the person. It was rare to meet someone here. This person seemed extraordinary, especially because of the shield in his hand. "Young man, please wait a moment." Jiang Hao had already reached the entrance of the karst cave. He pretended not to hear it and waved his hand to seal the entrance. He walked away. The remnant soul was speechless. He thought he had imagined it. He let out a sigh of relief as he walked out of the cave. The remnant soul had awakened, and it might be recovering by now. It was hard to say how strong it was, but he could definitely get into trouble if he got involved. Jiang Hao did not need more problems. Taking the wood away would only add to his trouble. He looked at the cursed tree from afar and decided to appraise it. He decided to wipe the tree clean. If it wasn't a divine tree, it wouldn't be in this state. He was very fast and arrived at the edge of the forest in no time. At that moment, he heard the waterfall. The black water was at the edge of the forest now, and some water had even flowed into it. The water was strange. It reminded him of the endless Black Sea. After making sure that there was no one around, Jiang Hao took out the Heaven Fate Misfortune Pearl and walked in. This time, everything in the forest seemed to be retreating as though it was afraid. All curses bowed in front of Heavenly Fate Misfortune Pearl. Meanwhile, Shangguan Qingsu, who had arrived in the south, suddenly felt something. The curse on her forehead began to flicker. She was frightened. Was the curse acting up this early? Chapter 8:16. I bought tea for you. Senior Shangguan Qingsu had been in the southern region for a long time, but there was still no news from Smiling Sanxing. Not only did she fail to find him, but she also became the target of someone else. Feng Hua had been chasing after her relentlessly. She leaked the news of her presence in the south herself. The purpose was to make Feng Hua come looking for trouble. If she couldn't find her, then Feng Hua would cause trouble for the Shangguan family. The plan was to use Feng Hua to stop the Shangguan family. This way, she could take advantage of all the benefit. As for Feng Hua, she was indeed powerful, but if she remained hidden, it would be safe. There was another important reason. Feng Hua had a grudge against Smiling Sanxing. Now that she was looking for Smiling Sanxing, she would undoubtedly be willing to cooperate with her. In that case, it wouldn't be a life-and-death situation between them. After all, finding her would be like helping find Smiling Sanxing for both their benefit. If their interests aligned, there might be some minor problems, but they wouldn't have any major trouble between them. As for the other members of the Shangguan family, it was hard to say. After all, there had to be someone for them to vent their frustration on. Everything had been going smoothly until a sudden change had happened. It left her confused. After all, such a twist had never occurred before. At that moment, she felt the curse on her forehead spreading throughout her body. The pain began to emerge. She quickly sat down. This time, it seemed different from before. The pain came slowly. Jiang Hao walked to the cursed tree. He looked at the tree. It towered over everything. It made his scalp tingle. If it weren't for the Heavenly Fate Misfortune Pearl, he wouldn't have dared get this close. This showed the devastating effect of the heavenly fate misfortune pearl. However, he had never experienced it himself. He had seen what it could do, but had never understood how it affected everything because he had never felt it himself. Perhaps those who experienced it didn't live long to tell the tale. He tried to wipe the trunk. Although there was dust on it, he didn't get any bubbles. It's not working. He appraised the tree. Longevity curse tree. In ancient times, a person cursed themselves into the longevity tree in pursuit of eternal life. They intended to become immortal. When the curse spread across the land, they sealed themselves willingly into the tree. Once sealed, they left behind their shadow. The main body breathes once every 3 months and resonates with the shadows. It's the longevity tree. But it's cursed. Jiang Hao was amazed. Moreover, this tree was not the main body. It was just a residual shadow. If just a mere shadow was this formidable, it was unimaginable how terrifying the main body would be. Breathes once every 3 months, and resonates with the shadow. This kind of thing needed to be avoided. He didn't want to get involved. This unlucky treasure was of no use to him. Just as he walked out of the forest, Jiang Hao met a woman in white. Jiang Hao recalled that she was the leader of the other team before. The one at the early stage of the primordial spirit realm. At that moment she looked ice-cold. She was injured in her left arm. "Greetings, senior," Jiang Hao said in greeting. She ignored him and quickly entered the forest. Jiang Hao felt puzzled. Soon, another person appeared. It was a leader of another team who was supposed to be at the peak of the Golden Core realm. However, he had revealed his real cultivation realm now. He was actually at the early stage of the primordial spirit realm. "Greetings, senior brother," Jiang Hao said. Just like the woman before, the man ignored him and headed into the forest. It seemed likely that he was going into the forest to kill the senior sister. From it was evident that their conflict wasn't over. Jiang Hao couldn't help but sigh. After that, he quickly left. If the two of them came out of the forest, he might get into trouble. Although the sect might not intervene, being seen here wouldn't be good. He didn't want to invite trouble. Jiang Hao found that Li Min had returned when he went back to the mine. "I've found a mineral vein," Li Min said as soon as she saw him. "Take me there," he said. Soon, they arrived in front of a slightly damp wall where there was a crude cave. "It's inside." "I discovered it," Li Min said. Jiang Hao nodded. He entered it and found out that she was indeed right. Finally, they could start mining for real. However, Senior Brother Wei seems to have seen a demonic beast here. "Although it passed by quickly, there's still some danger," Li Min said. Jiang Hao nodded. He had assumed that she would make a move against him, but she showed no signs of doing that yet. But he still needed to be careful. They had found the cursed tree, an ore vein, and the Black River. They had gained quite a lot from this trip. It was time to report to the sect. If they don't act now, they might miss the opportunity. Right timing was everything. At that moment, something approached from a distance. It headed toward Li Min. Perfect timing. Jiang Hao didn't make a move. Soon, a stone-like demonic beast leaped out of the mine and crashed into Li Min at a thunderous speed. Bang! By the time Li Min saw it, it was too late. In an instant, the bones in her body shattered. She flew backward and blood sprayed everywhere. She fainted. The demonic beast then turned toward Jiang Hao and charged at him. Bang! The moment it moved, Jiang Hao walked over. Immediately after, it disappeared into the ground and turned to ashes. It was dead. Jiang Hao stood by Li Min's side and set up the Mountain Sea seal. He also used the yin-yang bracelet and activated the heavenly cauldron. Only then did he take out the sealed bead with the charm body that he had extracted from the scholar's wife on one of his trips. Whether it succeeds or not depends on your luck. Jiang Hao activated the heaven lock technique and pressed the purple bead on Li Min's forehead. In an instant, the seal broke, and the essence of the charm body began to merge with Li Min. After a while, Jiang Hao stepped back. He deactivated the Heaven Lock technique. He felt exhausted. Using Heaven Lock took away too much of his energy. It didn't harm his cultivation realm but drained his essence, spirit, and energy. Fortunately, he had many divine abilities that protected him. Otherwise, he would have been in danger. After that, he packed up his things and sat outside to rest. He would continue mining after recovering. "You can use the Heaven Lock technique?" asked a voice. Jiang Hao was leaning against the wall in exhaustion. He looked to his side and saw that Hong Yuya had arrived. "I'm just testing it out," he said with difficulty. Hong Yuya sat down, and a tea table appeared. Before her she gestured for Jiang Hao to brew some tea. He didn't protest. He brought out the September spring he had recently bought. He had bought 2 packs for 40,000 spirit stones. He still had 180,000 left. It was more than enough. Hong Yuya looked surprised. She looked at him carefully. "You earned a lot of spirit stones lately? Senior, you must be joking. Where will I get so many spirit stones? I earned 40,000 in the corpse realm and spent it all on September spring to please you," he said. Hong Yuya chuckled. Chapter 817. Demonis, don't want to work for me anymore. September spring was the most expensive tea Jiang Hao had ever seen in his life. 1 pack cost him 20,000 spirit stones. However, it was easier to please powerful seniors with this kind of tea. Tea leaves weren't hard to come by. He could always find somewhere to buy them. The problem was the cost. For a golden core realm cultivator, it was more sensible to buy magical treasures instead of spending money on tea. The tea had temporary benefits, but magical treasures could be used for a long time. It offered better protection. Who would be willing to spend 20,000 spirit stones on a single pack of tea? Jiang Hao sat down after pouring the tea for her. "What does it feel like to master the Heaven Lock technique?" Hong Yuya suddenly asked. "It feels like being able to see people's talent. It even gives you the power to interfere with it," said Jiang Hao truthfully. The power of the Heaven Lock technique was unimaginable. However, that technique couldn't be used lightly. It had a great impact. If it weren't for the Hong Meng Heart Sutra, it would have been fatal to use it twice. "What did you give her?" Hong Yuya asked. Li Min was still lying on the ground. "Charm body," Jiang Hao said. Hong Yuya looked at Jiang Hao teasingly. "So, you've learned charm techniques?" Jiang Hao was stunned. He recalled the embarrassing moment when Hong Yuya had caught him reading about charm technique. He lowered his head to drink tea and chose not to speak. He had already forgotten about that matter, and he didn't expect Hong Yuya to remember either. He hadn't even looked at books on charm techniques for a long time. When Hong Yuya had caught him reading them, he had been too embarrassed to open another book in his lifetime. Hong Yuya didn't ask further. Instead, she looked disdainfully at Li Min. "Why do you always run to unlucky places?" Jiang Hao was unsure how to answer her. He didn't want to venture to ominous places, but he had no choice sometimes. He intended to mine for ores and bubbles. Now that he had finally found a decent mine, he couldn't continue. It was regrettable. "Do you know about the origin of that tree, Senior?" Jiang Hao asked. Hong Yuya fell silent for a moment. It is said that the longevity tree nurtured a clan called the Longevity Clan. When the longevity tree was infused with a curse, the clan also changed. Longevity Clan? Jiang Hao had never heard of it. Other than longevity, is there anything special about this clan? Jiang Hao asked. Hong Yuya thought for a moment. They possess a vast life force. Jiang Hao was puzzled. What did that mean? When Jiang Hao asked again, he didn't get an answer. He could only continue drinking his tea. When he sipped the September spring, he felt much more at ease, and the effects brought by locking heaven gradually dissipated. But spending 20,000 spirit stones in one go was indeed quite extra. The side effect of using the heaven lock technique dissipated. It was a shame that the tea cost 20,000 spirit stones. He recovered slowly. The revival of withered wood ability healed him too. After that, he told her about the discussion they had had at the recent gathering. He also mentioned that the ancient pages might be in the west. He also mentioned the matters of Mu Longyu and Mi Lingyue. The ancient pages are in the west? Asked Hong Yuye. Do you have the exact location? Jiang Hao shook his head. Hong Yuye told him to continue paying attention to any information regarding that. She seemed interested in the sage's pages as well. Any powerful cultivator would be curious about it. If they obtained it, they could change the course of history. Having the ability to foresee what might happen was useful and powerful. Everyone wanted power and control. Senior, are you going to the west? Jiang Hao asked. I will definitely take good care of the heavenly fragrance Dao flower when the time comes. So, please rest easy, Senior. Hong Yuye raised her eyebrows slightly as she held her teacup to her lips. Are you implying you don't want to work for me anymore? I am willing to do everything in my power for you, Senior, said Jiang Hao. Who's going to the west then? Of course, it'll be me. Hong Yuye sipped her tea. Are Mu Longyu and Mi Lingyue a couple? Hong Yuye asked. Yes. They want to break free from the control of the Great Thousand God sect, Jiang Hao said. Are they married? Doesn't the Great Thousand God sect know about them already? It seems that they are indeed married. I think the Great Thousand God sect doesn't know that for now. Hong Yuye smiled. The Great Thousand mental control is not simple. Perhaps not long from now, their secret will be discovered. Jiang Hao was surprised. Mu Longyu is one of the heavenly kings, after all. Does the Great Thousand God sect have a way to deal with him? Confronting one heavenly king would mean confronting 12 of them together. That was almost impossible. Although the Great Thousand God sect was formidable, it probably couldn't afford to offend such a powerful person. Hong Yuye glanced at him with a look that made him feel strange. Jiang Hao could only change the topic. Senior, do you think there is something within that cave? Asked Jiang Hao. You'll find out if you go down, Hong Yuye said. Go down? This was definitely not a place he could walk in recklessly. There was probably a treasure inside. This place wasn't as simple as he had thought. There was the cursed tree and the black water too. Out of curiosity, he asked about the source of the black water. Hong Yuye didn't respond. Jiang Hao didn't press further. He could only continue drinking his tea. He felt better as the tea took effect. He seemed to feel a strange kind of tranquility. When he fully recovered, he found that there was no trace of Hong Yuye beside him. He had almost returned to his peak state. Li Min was awake too. She was leaning against the wall and nursing her injuries. She knew that Jiang Hao had saved her. Soon after, the others arrived. When they saw that both of them were in a sorry state, they seemed stunned. They thought the two people had fought with each other. Jiang Hao understood that they might have misread the situation, so he explained about the beast attack. They finally breathed a sigh of relief. Jiang Hao wasn't weak. If they had actually fought, things would have gone downhill. The 5 of them gathered together and shared whatever they had discovered. The cave seemed unusually large, and beasts lurked in many places. They marked all of these locations. 2 months passed that way. Around early March, Jiang Hao stopped digging. He had been digging here for 2 months and found that his progress was much slower than before. He had obtained 1 bubble every 3 days or so. He had been lucky to obtain at least 20 blue bubbles in 2 months. In 3 months, he had obtained more than 30 blue bubbles. They had gained a lot. Eventually, they left the cave. This time, there were no unexpected incidents. Outside the cave entrance, Jiang Hao saw the senior brother with hidden cultivation. Of the 10 others who had entered the mines, only he came out alive. Wei Zhixiang and others were amazed. It was unimaginable to lose so many people. After reporting the completion of the mission at the law enforcement hall, they went their own way. Li Min sighed. This was her first encounter with Jiang Hao. She found that he was not someone she could handle. She could only let go of the resentment in her heart. When she passed by a lake, she caught her reflection in the water. She thought she would see her usual boated self, but she found that something was strange. She had changed. Her appearance had changed. She was shocked. She looked elegant and graceful. Even she was amazed by her own beauty and charm. Was this really her? You're tuning in to the Phoenix Nights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.